It's Thursday, October 9th, 2025, and here's the latest happenings inside the federal machine. Israel and Hamas has agreed to the first stage of the peace deal. The Israel Security Cabinet is widely expected to approve the deal, paving the way for a ceasefire tomorrow and a 72-hour window of hostage release and prisoner exchange. President Trump held a cabinet meeting today where they discussed a variety of topics, including the Israel Hamas peace deal, protecting federal agents while eliminating Antifa, also the strength of our military, and the government shutdown. The battle between federal law enforcement against the Democrat politicians and far leftists continues, of course, and also the government shutdown continues as well, crossing into day 9 territory with no end in sight. The president announced Dr. Ben Carson will be receiving the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Also, Finnish President Alexander Stubb visits the White House today and meets with President Trump. And Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent announced that the U.S. government will be swapping $20 billion worth of Argentinian pesos in an effort to bolster the Argentinian economy. The Treasury Secretary is expected to meet with both President Trump and President Milei on October 14th. And a lot more happened today, so we're just going to dive right in. And if you enjoyed the video, please give the video a quick like if you have a second to do so, and also to subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the video as well. And if you leave a comment below, I may just read it on the next episode, which I'll be doing on Friday. So to start, this is from the House Foreign Affairs Committee Majority. President Donald John Trump made this happen when no one else could. So we're going to give this a play from the White House.
All right, hold on. President Trump, you have the best crowd in the world. What do you guys have to say to President Trump?
We got President Trump on the phone.
Thank you.
You did it!
You did it! Thank you! Thank you!
He said, how is everybody?
This is amazing. Mr. President, we believe in you. We know you've done so much for us over the past, since you became a president, and even before that. And we trust you fulfill the mission until every hostage, every 48 of the hostages are home. Thank you so much. Blessed be the peacemakers.
God bless you, Mr. President. God bless America.
Thank you very much. You just take care of yourselves. The hostages will come back. They're all coming back on Monday.
Monday. We have Monday. Confirmation from President Trump.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
All right. Fantastic news. All right, man. Good news all around. Good news. So it is confirmed by President Trump. The hostages are expected to be released on Monday. I haven't seen this video. I don't watch any of these videos before I start the show because I just want to react as I go along. So that's very good news. All I know is that when I read earlier, or what I read earlier, was that they're opening up a 72-hour window. So it's possible they might even start releasing hostages before Monday. I think he probably just told them Monday just because that's most likely going to be nearing the end of that 72-hour deadline when the ceasefire happens. Well, the ceasefire is going to start tomorrow or today, depending on when you're listening to this. And then the rest of the plan is going to start rolling out accordingly. All right. And this also comes from the House Foreign Affairs Committee Majority. President Trump has moved mountains to end wars throughout the globe. There is no one more deserving of the Nobel Peace Prize.
What do you make of
on
this
Fox
peace
News.
deal?
Just thank God, number one. That's all anybody could say. If President Trump this morning was bringing home the bodies of 5 that were killed or 5 living hostages, that would be a big deal. He's bringing home everybody. This is monumental. Everybody's been talking about, will he get the Nobel Peace Prize? Those groups of academics and elites sitting in Norway,
Dude, at this point with the Nobel Peace Prize, they gave it to Obama for doing literally nothing, and he was still into his... He wasn't even president for like, what, 6 months, 7 months, and then they gave him the Nobel Peace Prize? At this point, I would just tell him to shove it. I mean, we already know what President Trump has done. We already know that he is the peacemaker of the 21st century. I don't know if anybody's going to come close to what President Trump's been able to do. So, look, after they gave that to Obama for doing literally nothing, the Nobel Peace Prize doesn't exactly hold a lot of weight these
Or
days.
the people that decides this, they need to give President Trump the Nobel Peace Prize for his
Yeah,
efforts
yeah.
on this. India, Pakistan, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Democratic Republic of Congo, and Rwanda. The list goes
I bet they're still
on
not
and on.
going to.
He's done more in 10 months to make it actually mean something when people say the full weight and force of the United States of America. He's done more.
You know what they'll do? They'll give it to him posthumously, probably. They'll probably wait like 25 years just as a like a backhanded, here you go kind of situation. That wouldn't surprise me if they did
to
that.
make that mean something in 10 months than what's been done over the last 5 years, and that is bringing peace through strength. I'm not certain that the board in Norway that looks at this believes in peace through strength. I think they believe in peace through pandering, but just thank God for
Peace through
the work
pandering.
that President Trump, his envoy Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, his son-in-law, that they have been doing on this means so much to the world. Peace throughout the Middle East.
Secretary Rubio.
and for all of those families.
What have you?
Very nice. Very good news. And we have more on this. This is from Rep. Tony Gonzalez. This is a major moment for the Middle East and America. Bring the hostages home. This is coming from Fox News once again. New Hamas accepts President Trump's peace plan, ending the war in Gaza after 2 years and returning all hostages. Here is what is in the deal. And I went over the deal a couple of different times. I went over it in detail last week. But so I'm sure they're just going to give like the real brief Cliff Notes version. There's 20 points to it. And it probably took me about 10 to 15 minutes to read all the way through it. But it's out there if you want to check it out.
So you have an understanding of what they perhaps framed out over in Cairo, Egypt. War will end immediately. So the fighting that's still continuing, we saw smoke coming out of Gaza, will cease. I don't think that'll be much of a problem. All hostages alive at the cease to be returned within 72 hours. We don't know when the clock actually starts ticking, but let's say Monday, at which time you'll have 20 plus alive and over 50 bodies collected. Right now, that's taking place, we understand, between all the different factions. There are groups that are holding hostages that are not members of Hamas but have the same militant mindset. Israel released 250 people with life sentences. That means more than likely they have killed before. Think about how difficult that is. 1,700 Gazans. Some people have been captured
It's
during
pretty
this
far
fighting.
from a fair deal.
Keep in mind, Yahya Sinwar was one of the people that was exchanged for one hostage last time. He ends up being the architect of the October 7th attack. Thankfully, him and his brother are dead. Hamas members could be given amnesty if they decommission their weapons and agree to give up their rockets. That was the sticking point yesterday. We believe somehow they overcame it. Hamas will not have any role in the governance of Gaza, we should hope. Israel will not occupy or annex Gaza. That's not going to be an issue. The issue was really more the West Bank area where the Palestinian Authority mostly has the authority, but I don't think they're looking to take any Gaza. And I don't think that was much of something to be hurdled. Gaza will be governed by a temporary transition government. This is going to be key. And that government's going to be chaired by a peace council by President Trump. And then there's going to be people like Tony Blair, who's given basically his post-prime minister career to trying to find some way forward on a two-state solution or whatever's possible in the area. The question is, if you see Westerners in that region, we know they were targets when the Iraqi transition was taking place, will they be targets again? And the possible path to Palestinian self-determination and statehood. It's all going to be performance-based. How are they acting? Are there really Palestinian technocrats that want to work out a way to rebuild Gaza, set up institutions?
Well, I would imagine that's going to take years and years before that's
and things
determined.
Of that nature. I don't know any. And maybe
except for a lot of the woke folks over in Europe and Canada, the ones who already want to or have recognized Palestine as a sovereign nation. I mean, I think they jumped the gun a little too quick, you think?
Some of them are in prison right now. We're not sure. If you want to have an idea and a visual of what's going on, this was supplied by the White House. This is essentially Israel, okay? This is Gaza.
It is Israel.
This is where the walls were breached and the attack took place. Right now, we see the IDF is at the blue line. They'll be backing up to the yellow line and eventually be out. One of the sticking points was Hamas was saying, I want them all out before we go out. That doesn't seem to have happened.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's gonna happen. That's not gonna be reasonable, because what if they just back out? Then they're left at a strategic disadvantage at that point. And I don't want to get too far ahead of it. There's a lot of celebration happening because they've agreed to the deal, and it's been announced by President Trump and the other world leaders and Netanyahu. But it hasn't been solidified yet. I would still be holding my breath until they get the last hostage released. And I'm sure a lot of people are very cautiously optimistic, but a lot of people aren't, man. Look, a lot of people are in full-on celebration mode. From Caroline Levitt, wow, Trump's name chanted in Israel and Gaza after the peace deal. And I think I got a video here. Let's see. Okay, so they said it, got halfway through. It's an hour and a half. That wasn't by my doing. That's what they set up on the website. Okay, here we go.
Nobel Prize to Trump! Nobel Prize to Trump!
Nobel Prize to Trump.
Nobel Prize to Trump! Nobel Prize to Trump! Nobel Prize to Trump!
Hey!
Nobel Prize to Trump!
Hey!
Nobel Prize to Trump! Nobel Prize to Trump!
יאללה.
Thank you, Trump.
יאללה.
Thank you so much.
תנו לו פרס נובל. רק שיבואו לפה. קודם שיבואו ואז תיתנו לו את הנובל פרייס.
When we bring them home here and bring all and stop the
Okay, yeah, so they're celebrating. Times are good over there at the moment. Hopefully it holds up. And this will be linked if you want to look at that. It just looks like most likely a live stream, I guess. Maybe some live streamer on YouTube, or maybe it's from Mediaite. Maybe they got somebody out there filming. So Israelis and Gazans alike, they celebrated into the night, chanting President Donald Trump's name after he announced a peace deal to bring hostages home, with chants in Israel calling for him to be awarded his much-coveted Nobel Peace Prize. Trump announced that the warring parties had agreed to the first phase of what he called a historic peace deal on Wednesday night, marking a ceasefire and the start of mutual releases of hostages and prisoners. The president hailed the unprecedented event on Truth Social, declaring that all of the hostages will be released very soon under the terms of the agreement. After hearing the news, hostages square in the Israeli city of Tel Aviv filled with families waving American flags, dancing, and chanting Nobel Prize to Trump. Some Israeli farmers followed, carving Nobel for Trump into their field. Oh, shit. Look at this. Wow, man, that's crazy, dude. They're going all out. Going all out for Trump. There you go. Nobel for Trump, as seen in the air. That's wild, man. Let's see. Residents of Gaza also poured into the streets to celebrate what many hope will be the end of a devastating 2-year war. Also chanting Donald Trump. Dude, even Gazans are chanting Trump. In the war-torn streets of Gaza, they are chanting Trump's name. Thank you, President Donald J. Trump. I don't know. I kind of heard no more Trump, but okay. I guess I'll give it to him. I mean, people reporting on this, they would know better than me. All right. So, yeah, apparently they're saying thank you, President Trump, I guess, or thank you, Trump. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu hailed the development as a critical turning point, crediting our great friend and ally, President Trump, for helping to secure the release of the remaining 48 hostages, 20 of whom are believed to be alive. In the U.S., the president's son, Eric Trump, also called for his father to win the Nobel Peace Prize, leading a wave of top MAGA influencers and Trump cabinet members to follow suit. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick agreed, calling the prize undoubtedly deserved. MAGA commentator Steve Bannon said it would be a joke if Trump didn't win. Senate candidate Nate Morris went further. They should rename the damn thing after him. I mean, yeah, that would be a bit fitting at this point. So the Nobel Committee is set to announce this year's laureate on Friday. Really, on Friday? Talk about perfect timing. Yeah, that would be a good time to name him. I think the timing couldn't be more perfect than that. So, yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, look, they said 20 hostages that are believed to still be alive. I don't know, man. I don't want to say it, but there's, look, they said dead or alive. And from what I've heard, what Hamas was doing to the prisoners and how they would torture them, and they would say, like, who gets it in the head, who gets it in the kneecap, like shit like that, making them dig their own graves and shit like that. I just hope that the worst case scenario doesn't happen between now and when we get the hostages. And that's all I'm going to speak about. I'm just saying, dead or alive. I guess I could probably say no further or no more. Anyway, Caroline Levitt again. Art of the Peace. Gazans join Israelis in chanting Trump's name over ceasefire. Nobel Prize to Trump. I think we already got that. It's also just being reported on the New York Post. So I'll just link that if you want to check that out. Senator Todd Young, the successful negotiation of a Gaza peace plan is a major diplomatic accomplishment and potentially a historic breakthrough. I want to congratulate the President, Secretary Rubio, and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff for peace missions and the Trump administration on their successful and transformational efforts. I'm grateful to their work in pursuit of peace in the Middle East, and we pray that this agreement holds. And from Amir Ohana, it is my profound honor and privilege to officially invite the greatest friend and ally of the Jewish people in modern history, President real Donald Trump, to deliver a formal address to the nation before the Knesset. I don't know if I'm saying that right or not. Can you tell I'm not Jewish? Israel awaits the peace president, and they issued a letter. His Excellency Donald J. Trump, 45th and 47th President of the United States of America, the White House. Dear Mr. President, today is a historic day. Your leadership, courage, persistence, and vision have led not only to a deal securing the release of all Israeli hostages abducted by Hamas on October 7th, but also to an unprecedented regional agreement accepted by nearly every nation in the Middle East. This victory would not have been possible without the sacrifice of our brave soldiers, the resolve of Prime Minister Netanyahu, and the close partnership you have forged with him, and with the one and only Jewish state throughout your life. From recognizing Jerusalem as our eternal capital and moving the American embassy there, to affirming our sovereignty over the Golan Heights, from creating the historic Abraham Accords, or Abraham Accords, to eliminating Iran's nuclear sites, and now to this momentous day, you have demonstrated that under your leadership, America is not only a military superpower, but a moral superpower as well, and that peace comes through strength. The people of Israel regard you as the greatest friend and ally of the Jewish nation in modern history. It is therefore my profound honor and privilege to officially invite you to deliver a formal address to the nation before the Knesset. Your speech would be the first by a sitting U.S. president since President George W. Bush's visit in 2008, a deeply meaningful gesture of our eternal gratitude for your once-in-a-century leadership and for the unbreakable alliance between the State of Israel and the United States of America. Israel awaits the peace president. With great respect and warm regards, M.K. Amir Ohana, Speaker of the Knesset. There you have it. I wonder if they're going to invite him to plant a tree in the garden. I don't know what they called it, the Garden of Life or something like that. I don't know. I'm thinking back to the Schindler's List. Remember Schindler's List when they invited him to plant a tree, and it's like a very rare honor, something that it's like one of the highest honors they have in Israel or something like that. I don't know. What do I know? All right, so let me head back over to the bookmarks, and we'll head on to the next thing. So we've got that covered, and that got the letter, and then we're going to move on to the cabinet meeting that occurred today. These are, I believe all of these, with the exception of maybe one or two, are all going to come from Rapid Response, so I'm not going to repeat it over and over again. They all came from Rapid Response 47, and most of these are going to be quotes, so I'm basically just going to go from one to the next. These are the highlights from it. I could either just show the highlights, which is really all I got time for, or I could play the whole thing, which is probably like an hour or two long. So we're going to go through the highlights, and this appears to be his opening statement. We're here this morning for a cabinet meeting as my administration continues to deliver for the American people despite the radical left lunatics that shut down our government.
So we're here this morning for a cabinet meeting as my administration continues to deliver for the American people, despite the radical left lunatics that shut down our government. You have Democrats that they've lost their way. They have no leadership. We don't even know who to deal with over there. At least they know who to deal with.
Oh, yeah, man, they're in chaos.
No idea who we're dealing with over there.
Yeah, if you ask your everyday Democrat, there was a survey that was done from just everyday Democrat voters around the country, and they asked who they believe is the current leader of the Democratic Party, and the most common, most often answer was AOC, which is hilarious. And Senator Kennedy came out earlier today, which I have his post. I'm going to go through that here in a little bit, but according to him, he believes that Chuck Schumer is answering to AOC. That it sounds like they're working together closely enough to the point where she might end up replacing him in the Senate. Who knows? But anyway, let's continue.
It's like they have no idea what they're doing. Republicans have voted repeatedly to pass a clean, nonpartisan bill to reopen government at the same funding levels. We're not going to do anything only good for health care. We're really, I think, become the party of good health care. And they keep using healthcare as a cudgel. They want to try and get everyone thinking about healthcare. We're the ones that are saving healthcare.
Yeah, basically. And they want to give everybody health care, including illegal immigrants. But if you give health care to every single American with the hyperinflated cost of health care in America today, it's going to absolutely bankrupt our economy. Well, it's going to skyrocket inflation to the likes of which we've never lived through before. I mean, it's going to make COVID look like practically nothing. If they're to give unlimited free health care to every single person, it's psychotic. We don't even have the money to fund the federal government, man. They're dipping into our grandchildren's money. And it's at a rate of what, $2 trillion a year that they're spending above and beyond what they're taking in on taxes, revenue, tariffs, everything. It's psychotic. We don't have any money for it. There is no money for it. Absolutely no money for healthcare for all. It's lunacy. All right, and we got another one. Also, President Trump talking during his opening statement.
A momentous breakthrough in the Middle East, something that people said was never going to be done. We ended the war in Gaza and really, on a much bigger basis, created peace. And I think it's going to be a lasting peace, hopefully an everlasting peace. Peace in the Middle East. We secured the release of all of the remaining hostages, and they should be released on Monday or Tuesday. Getting them is a complicated process. I'd rather not tell you what they have to do to get them. There are places you don't want to be, but we are getting the hostages back on Tuesday, Monday or Tuesday. And,
okay, well,
that'll be
Monday
a
or
day
Tuesday,
of joy.
I guess.
I'm going to try and make a trip over. We're going to try and get over there. And we're working on the timing, the exact timing. We're going to go to Egypt, where we'll have a signing, an additional signing. We've already had a signing representing me, but we're going to have an official signing.
All right, I'm going to move right on to the next one. This one is Secretary Rubio speaking.
I don't know if one day perhaps the entire story will be told about the events of yesterday, but suffice it to say, it's not an exaggeration that none of it would have been possible without the President of the United States being involved.
But man, the Democrats are seething over this. They're not going to say it out loud because they just can't. Well, I mean, hell, they're capable of anything at this point, but I don't think they're happy about this at all. They've become such warmongers in recent years, especially the radical leftists. They just want violence. They want war. They want just instability across the world. And I don't think that they're happy about this. I really don't, but who knows?
It really began with your trip to the Middle East, where these relationships were forged with partners in the region, personal relationships, close relationships that created the foundation where all of this was possible. Where I think this really took a turn. Remember, a month ago, no one thought this was possible.
Oh, yeah, of course. Well, and also not to mention the military contractors. They're probably going to be pissed off about this, too. Peace in the Middle East. You know how much money that they're not going to be making in the coming years if that actually plays out? Another one from Secretary Rubio. This one's a bit longer.
I don't know if one day perhaps the entire story will be told about the events of yesterday, but suffice it to say, it's not an
okay,
exaggeration.
here, I'll skip a little bit.
Personal
Use the same one
relationships,
again.
close relationships that created the foundation where all of this was possible. Where I think this really took a turn. Remember, a month ago, no one thought this was possible. Where it really took a turn about a month ago, less than a couple weeks ago, is when we were at the United Nations, and you convened a historic meeting, not simply of Arab countries, but of Muslim-majority countries from around.
Yeah, and they tried everything to try to stop Trump from getting through to everybody in the room, to the point where they stopped the escalator, which was apparently like a national, or well, a presidential security nightmare because he was stuck on an elevator, like basically a sitting duck. But then he gets up to the podium and he had no teleprompters working, which I'm sure they sabotaged purposefully, because why not just hold it up for 15 minutes while they fix the teleprompters? I mean, they could have waited 15 minutes. They've got technical people working there. But then also he gives his entire speech in front of the UN, and then it turns out there was no microphone, or his microphone wasn't working for the entire room. The whole room didn't hear him. Melania Trump was sitting right up there in front, and President Trump asked her how his speech was, and she said, "I didn't hear a word you said," because they cut his mic for the entire time. You think that they would have just ran up there real quick and just flipped the switch or something, but no, they deliberately tried to sabotage his speech. They didn't want his speech to be heard by all of those leaders in the room. But fortunately, I'm assuming that most, if not all, of the Arab nations were listening to their earbuds, and anybody who was listening to their headset, they were able to hear him speaking. So I mean, it sounds like with regard to the peace deal, that's really what
The
matters.
world, including Indonesia, was there, Pakistan was there, and created this coalition behind this plan. Then on that following Monday, you met with the Prime Minister of Israel here, and that plan was presented. And then, of course, our great negotiating team followed up on it. In the interim, again, perhaps the stories will be told, perhaps they will never be told. The president had some extraordinary phone calls and meetings that required a high degree of intensity and commitment, and made this happen. And I think what's important to understand is that yesterday what happened was really a human story. There's a geopolitical aspect to it, there's no doubt about it. It creates the conditions for Gaza to one day be a normal place again and people to have a better life and Israelis to be safe. But yesterday was a human story. And because of the work you put in, and honestly, there is not only is there no other leader in the world that could have put this together, Mr. President, but frankly, I don't know of any American president in the modern era that could have made this possible.
No, no way.
Because of the actions you have taken unrelated to this and because of who you are and what you've done and how you're viewed. And this weekend, because of that, at some point very soon, we are going to see 20 living human beings emerge from the darkness into the light for the first time in 2 years.
Oh, God willing.
And that is
Let's
because
hope.
not only were you used the credibility and the power and the prestige of this office and the relationships you created, and you committed yourself to making it happen. And I think it will go down as a historic moment in the history of our country, and something our country should be very proud of, that we have a president that's committed to not just peace, but to the human aspect of reuniting these families. My last point on this is just a couple of days ago, Secretary Lutnick hosted us all, many of us, at the Kennedy Center. And we have these families, we've interacted with them for so many years, for 2 years now. And the stories are heartbreaking, both whose families are alive and those who are deceased as well, who want their relatives back so that they can complete the process of grieving. And we had all hoped that perhaps that was the day that we would have an announcement for them on the anniversary of the 7th. But I know you were able to speak to some of those families last night. And I just hope the whole nation understands how incredibly proud they should be of their president and of their country for the role that they've played. And I don't want to let this moment pass, Mr. President, without also noting the incredible work of Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. They're an incredible team working together, facing some substantial impediments to even being there this weekend and doing it. So let me just leave it at that. And they've done a great job on your behalf, Mr. President. They deserve a tremendous amount of credit. But thank you for what you've done for the world. For the world.
Thank you very much, Rose. I appreciate it.
Amen. Amen. Very well said. And the next one, Secretary Burgum. I think he's with Department of either Energy or Interior. I think he's Interior, right? Yeah. Secretary of the Interior. That's what I thought.
Trump, I just want to double down on what Marco was sharing. It's such a remarkable accomplishment. Agree that no other president could have done this, but what set the groundwork for you able to do that? When you took office on January 20th, you made a 180-degree turn in our military strength with Pete's leadership. You were the master class in peace through strength. So militarily, we've completely turned around. We've demonstrated that through execution against Iran and others, that we have force. We want to end wars, but we'll use power if we have to. And then secondarily, peace through strength is also the prosperity, having the strongest economy and being willing to wield the power of a tariff in addition to the military power to reorder the globe. Those two things that you're standing on, both economic power and military power, allowed these negotiations to go forward. And I think as you've described, the importance of these economic negotiations and all the trade deals, but that also begins with another 180-degree turn, and that was the 180-degree turn on energy. You have used energy diplomacy to bring prosperity to the American people, and you've used it to bring peace abroad. The combination of those three things have been remarkable, and now we're seeing the remarkable result. And we got one more that I know you want to end with Russia and Ukraine. Energy is going to play a key role in that. And now with this historic agreement, we're in a position working with the Middle East to also end the Russian-Ukraine conflict. So again, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I don't know if he's speaking with regard to the Middle East and trying to secure energy contracts with Europe, but we're trying to work with Europe to get their dependence on Russian energy severed and to try to get their energy, I'm assuming from us. I'm sure it would be quite costly if we were to ship it across the ocean, so I'm wondering if maybe they're going to try to work out something with the Middle East to try to see if they can, scale back on their dependence on Russian energy, because it's kind of hilarious that Europe is purchasing weapons from the United States to give to Ukraine, and then they're purchasing energy from Russia, which Russia uses to fight Ukraine. Doesn't make any fucking sense. So anyway, DOW, rapid response, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, he speaks.
President, you're exactly right. At the War Department, you don't get peace without strength. And our job is to be the strength part of the equation and deliver that when necessary, as you demonstrated with your order of Midnight Hammer. And the entire world saw. And I just want to echo what Marco said. It is a personal honor to be able to witness the way you lead and negotiate. I wish people
history
have
in the
full
making,
understanding of what that looks like, that historic nature. A lot of us vets, the Vice President, Tulsi, Lee, Doug, probably after decades of war and the chaos that was unleashed through reckless and foolish American policies.
Oh, fuck,
never
yeah.
thought this kind of peace
Absolutely.
would be possible. Yet, with your strength, with your ability to wield trade...
Dude, yeah, like imagine going back 20 years ago and saying that the Abraham Accords were going to be a thing. Like, I'm sure they would have been like, there's no fucking way. There's no way. Fuck 20 years ago, like probably 10 years ago.
Negotiations, personal relationships. To open up that opportunity is truly historic on the world stage. And it creates a whole number of other cascading effects. And watching Marco and the Vice President and Steve and Jared, the CIA director, everybody come together to make it happen. You've formed a phenomenal team, Mr. President. And at the War Department, our job is to make sure if and when there's question about American commitment, the whole world knows we've got the biggest, strongest, most lethal, and most ready War Department in the world, which is true, which is why we saw record recruitment in 2025, Mr. President. The first 2 weeks of 2026 already blows that out. FY 2026 already blows it out of the water. In fact, re-enlistment
they want to serve under Trump.
Year-long goal in the Marine Corps in 2026. 2 weeks. Okay.
Wow.
You can't. There's no other way to create that kind of love and enthusiasm than with your leadership, sir. And it is an honor to work with Pam and with Christy and the cities across the country to make sure American citizens and law enforcement are protected with our National Guard. That's a core mission. And last thing, Mr. President, on the southwest border, the first group that rotated in to lock down that border to 0 crossings is now rotating out. And with a new border medal, the Southwest Border Medal, or it's actually called the Mexican Border Medal, revived from 1918.
I talked about that a couple of weeks ago.
Pinning on their chest. So thank you for renaming the department, and we're trying to live up to it every day. So thank you, sir.
Yeah, they're issuing a new medal. I think they're bringing it back. Like they issued a medal for them protecting the border. Apparently they issued it like decades ago, and then they retired it or something like that. But now they're bringing it back. At least that's my understanding. I could possibly be wrong on that, but I think that's what's going on. So GOP, woke is dead. Columbus Day is back. In other words, we're calling it Columbus Day.
Christopher Columbus obviously
the Italian
discovered the New World in
that.
1492. He was a great Italian explorer. He sailed his 3 ships, the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria, across the Atlantic Ocean and landed in what's today the Caribbean. But this is a particularly important holiday for Italian Americans who celebrate the legacy of Christopher Columbus and the innovation and explorer zeal that he represented.
In other words, we're calling it Columbus Day.
Yes. What was that? Absolutely. And this Mamdani asshole who's going to be mayor of New York City, he's talking about taking down all the Columbus statues. Like, dude, isn't there still a lot of Italian Americans who still live in New York City? I mean, what do they have to say about that? Are any of them voting for this dude? All right. So let me move on to the next one. AG Pam Bondi. She's going to speak now.
Despite the Democrat shutdown of our government, our law enforcement officers are out there working without paychecks, round the clock to keep and make America safe. Secretary Hegseth and I were recently in Memphis. We had 1,100 law enforcement officers in one room with us. The Memphis PD, they were the happiest to see us, don't you think, Secretary Hegseth, of anyone. We had ATF, DEA, FBI, U.S. Marshals. I'm not sure if our park police were there. We had Treasury, Secretary Bessent, and of course we had Secretary Nones, Homeland Security,
Kennedy's got that
all working
tie on.
together with the Guard. They were so happy to have us there. We've been making arrests left and right. So far we made 562 arrests, and seized 144
Maybe it's the
illegal
angle.
guns just in the short time we've been in Memphis.
And many of these people are career criminals. And when you take them out of a place, your crime rate just goes down. These people commit crimes every single day. They're sick. And we're taking them out. In some cases, we're bringing them back to their countries where Biden allowed, with the stupid open borders that we had in our country, to come in. But they're being brought back to other places, or they're being put in jail, but they're career criminals.
And if there's another Democrat president, what do you think they're going to do with the border? You think the floodgates are going to open back up? Yeah, you bet your ass they are.
Last night alone, we made 91 arrests, 19 firearms off the streets, and one was a warrant for a homicide, and 4 sex offenders who had active warrants. One was a sex offender on a child. Everything we did in Memphis was worth it, in my opinion, for that one arrest. Think about that. We got a child rapist off the streets, but yet we've made 562 arrests and still going strong in Memphis. Just what we did in D.C. But it's because it's all of us. It's a team working for you to make America safe, all together, round the clock.
Thank you, Pam.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, keep rocking and rolling. We're going to go on to the next one. Caroline Levitt. Looks like this is going to be an article from the Daily Wire. Yeah, in the next part of the cabinet meeting, it's going to talk about the shutdown and the Democrats stonewalling and everything. So the attacks aren't working. Attempts by D.C. press to drive a wedge in the GOP have failed. I'm sure this plays a part in it. And this is on the Daily Wire. 2 free articles remaining. Oh man, I should have opened that up in a private window, but that's all right. As the media attempt to drive a wedge between congressional Republicans and the White House, a senior House Republican aide tells the Daily Wire the attacks aren't working. On Tuesday, Politico proclaimed that Trump's off-script comments cause shutdown headaches for GOP, saying President Donald Trump, House Speaker Mike Johnson, and Senate Majority Leader John Thune are straining to project a unified front against Democrats. Shortly after the Politico story was published, Punch Bowl News reporter Andrew Desiderio posted on X that Schumer calls out Republicans, says they're feeling the heat on Obamacare subsidies and are fractured amid shutdown fights, citing Trump going off message. Dude, the only person that I've heard who's willing to work with them with regard to the Affordable Care Act is Trump. I haven't really heard anybody else say that they're willing to negotiate the Affordable Care Act subsidies other than Trump. And who was that guy? He got into that heated argument with Hakeem Jeffries last night. Totally called out Hakeem Jeffries on his bullshit. He actually came up there with a bill that he put together, and he said that other Republicans had signed it, or they were willing to sign it, but it opens up the Affordable Care Act subsidies, or it prolongs it to another year. So it basically gives pretty much everything the Democrats want, with the exception of illegal immigrants getting health care, and Hakeem Jeffries didn't want anything to do with it. It was absolutely hilarious to watch. I showed it on last night's episode. So anyway, the Democratic National Committee War Room then published an article on their website Wednesday. Republicans are in shambles over Trump shutdown as Johnson extends House GOP vacation for another week. The article claims that the GOP and White House are scrambling to keep their story straight on Donald Trump's government shutdown. But according to the senior aide, these attacks are falling flat. Congressional Republicans are aligned with the White House on the message, tactics, and resolve, in attempts by the D.C. press to drive a wedge have failed. Trump struck a similar note in a Thursday press conference, praising Johnson and Thune for their leadership. Both of those guys have been incredible, Trump said, placing the blame for the continued shutdown firmly on the Democrats who started it and are not keeping the government closed like a kamikaze attack. They have nothing to lose, Trump said of the Democrats. They've lost the elections. They've lost the presidential election in a landslide, Trump said. Yeah, I think they really don't have anything else to lose at this point. Well, obviously, the one thing that they have to lose at this point is just more Democrat voters. That's really all they got to lose at this point. So, I mean, for them to do this, it's kind of reckless, in my opinion, because there's a hell of a lot more Democrat voters who consume government benefits than Republicans, hands down. It's probably an overwhelming majority. Plus, not to mention the vast majority of federal workers who work for the federal government, they vote Democrat as well. So I don't know how Democrats they're posturing like this is a good thing. This is going to help them, secure their win in the midterms. I know they're most likely keeping the government shut down to help with their campaign messaging, going into the midterms because the Republicans, they control the House, they control the Senate, they control the Oval Office. The cherry on top is that they also have the Supreme Court. That's what they're going to keep running with, even though it wasn't the Republicans who closed this down at all. In order to get a spending bill passed in Congress, you got to get 60 votes in the Senate. 60. There's not 60 Republicans. There's only, 53. So they need 7 votes from the other side in order to make it happen, and we don't have 7, hence the government shut down. So it is the Democrats' fault. 100% their fault. They have a party that's out of control. They have no leader. Nobody knows who the leader is, Trump said, wondering whether Schumer has any power anymore. No, and again, according to Secretary Kennedy, it's apparently Schumer's answering AOC these days. The president said he doesn't know who to speak to and said he's getting calls from Democrats he's never heard of. Dude, that speaks volumes. Who the fuck, so there's no single Democrat, or there's no trio of Democrats or a pair of Democrats who are consistently working with Trump or talking with them. It's just, he's just getting calls from all kinds of random Democrats. It literally sounds like their party is in chaos and free fall and shambles. It's wild, man. It's absolutely wild. Kicking and screaming, just clamoring for power in any way they possibly can. Quote, I've never even heard their names before, and they're claiming to be a leader. The Democrats have no leader. They remind me of Somalia, Trump said. Oh, shit. The House passed a funding bill, H.R. 5371, 11 days before the deadline, but it has yet to pass the Senate. Democratic Senators John Fetterman, Catherine Cortez Mastro, and Independent Angus King broke with their party to side with Republicans and vote for the funding bill. So I will link this if you want to take a look at that. There's more to read on it. Senator Rand Paul, he actually voted against the Republicans. He voted on the Democrat side on shutting down the government because he claims that this CR bill adds another $2 trillion to the national deficit. And Rand Paul's like, I'm not signing on anything that adds money to the debt. So I highly respect him for that, at least. I absolutely think that they shouldn't be touching the national deficit no matter what. But that's for a whole nother discussion. So anyway, getting back to the cabinet meeting again, this is going to be Vice President Vance who's speaking next.
Mr. President, first of all, congratulations on yesterday. It was a big day to Marco, to Susie, to the entire team, but in particular, viewing it from this perspective where for months the fake news media attacked you, attacked the entire team, attacked your approach. The definition of insanity is to do the same thing again and again, expecting a different result.
Yeah, they're insane.
Because the president actually charted a different course with a different team. He vested a lot of authority in Steve Witkoff in particular, and that's why we're here. It's because you did something different, and I think it's important to recognize that. I also think the president, Marco mentioned the president's personal touch being a big part of this. The one thing I would say is obviously the president of the United States, a New York real estate billionaire, one of the most famous New Yorkers in the world, has a lot of interaction with a lot of people who are very pro-Israel. I think that was an important set of experiences and life experiences that he brought to the table. He also, of course, knew one of the most famous Palestinians in the world, Chuck Schumer, and I think without that background, knowledge, it would have been impossible to get us to this. Second thing I would say, just on Chuck Schumer, the president mentioned this, that Chuck Schumer said this has been very good for us this morning about the shutdown. One of the things that we talked about before all the media came in, and that all of us are going to work on for the rest of the day, we've been working on for days, is how to make the shutdown as painless as possible on the American people. So while Chuck Schumer brags about this being good, and I think the president is right, it's not good for him politically as much as he might think that it is. It's causing real consequences for the American people. There's a low-income food program, the WIC program, that my mom actually used when I was a baby. That program is about to be underfunded and is about to get cut off because Chuck Schumer won't open the government. We have troops. The Secretary of War mentioned how well we're doing on recruitment. We're trying to figure out how to pay our troops because Chuck Schumer is shutting down the U.S. government. There are veterans benefits that are going to suffer. There are Americans that are going to suffer because Chuck Schumer refuses to do his job. So while we're all celebrating this incredible success that we've had on the world stage, the country could be doing so much better if Chuck Schumer did his job and opened the government. Every single Republican, except for Rand Paul, has voted to open the government. A few moderate Democrats, to their credit, have voted with us to open the government. We just need 5 more Democrats to come to their senses and let the people's government serve the American people. I hope that they'll do that.
Yeah, and they're shutting down the government because of the ACA tax credits that they rolled out during the COVID era, and COVID's over. So naturally, it's going to expire at the end of November, but the Democrats insist on just keeping it up forever. They want to keep just giving out ACA tax credits to everybody, even though COVID's completely over. It's not that healthcare is going to skyrocket and double. It will from the point where it was in 2021. It's because of those ACA tax credits that artificially lowered people's premiums who were able to take advantage of that. So what this is going to do, it's just going to allow those tax credits to expire, and then everybody goes back to paying the same amount, maybe a little more because, yeah, of course, adjusted for inflation, but people are going to have to pay, back to the rate at which they had to pay before COVID happened with regard to the Affordable Care Act. So, and they're shutting down the government over that, all over healthcare. It's absolutely fucking crazy. And then they're trying to blame the Republicans, not only on the shutdown, but they're blaming Republicans because that's why healthcare is so expensive, while conveniently trying to push past the fact that it's Obamacare that really fucked up the insurance industry from the get-go. All right, so from this one, we've got Secretary Wright, who's going to speak next.
Yeah, to follow up on that point, Mr.
Turn it
President, the Democrat or Schumer shutdown did not begin 8 or 9 days ago. It began 8 or 9 months ago with your inauguration. For the first time in American history, every Senate-confirmed appointee who are our deputies to run our department, every one of them has been filibustered. One of the critical parts of my department is the National Nuclear Security Administration. It maintains, manufactures our nuclear weapons and our engines for nuclear submarines and nuclear aircraft carriers. We are a key supplier to Secretary of War Pete Hegseth. They filibustered, the Democrats filibustered the leader, the administrator of the National Nuclear Security Administration, would not let him come into my department until the Republicans 2 weeks ago changed the Senate rules so they could confirm him and we could have a leader. They filibustered the leadership, now they're filibustering the funding. In the next 6-7 days, we're going to run out of funding, and the retooling of our nuclear stockpile, the ultimate guarantor of our sovereignty, is going to be underfunded, and we're going to have to slow down.
Oh, good grief. You probably shouldn't be saying that out in the open.
Just incredibly irresponsible for Schumer to worry about his own reelection and not the 340 million Americans that count on the efforts of our military and all of our departments. It's truly offensive, and we need to bring it to an end as soon as possible. Let's open the government back up.
Isn't that interesting how the press is all here? They've all been invited to speak to attend these cabinet meetings that President Trump is holding, and they've been just so anti-Trump for the last decade. But even still, he still allows them to come in and do what they do. That's just baffling to me. All right, so we're going back to President Trump, and he's going to speak again. It looks like this might be also in his opening statement. I might have placed that in the wrong spot. Oh, no. Okay, I see why I was doing this. This is in regards to the Democrat shutdown, government shutdown, so that's why I placed these where I did.
Republicans have voted repeatedly to pass a clean, nonpartisan bill to reopen our government. And remember, at the same funding
turn
levels,
your phone off.
Both parties have supported in the past. So
that wasn't my phone.
The
That was
radical
in there.
Democrats have chosen to put the economy of our country. We have the best economy we've ever had. We had the best economy in my first term, but we have an economy that's
$1.79 gas.
away. And we have the Democrats are trying to.
So the Democrats work with the Chinese to drop COVID.
I don't think they want to have a good country. That's why they try and stop our law enforcement from doing what we did in Washington, D.C. Republicans have voted repeatedly to pass a.
Oh, okay. So that was it. I forgot that was a short one. All right. So I got another one. Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, talking about them for about a minute and a half.
Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries and the congressional Democrats are holding the entire federal government hostage. I will tell you, a lot of Democrats want to get this thing open too. They do. They're calling us, and they just want to get it open. And all we're doing.
Well, look, if they're doing that, you got to let them know this whole healthcare to illegal immigrants is a non-starter. That's a non-starter, and that's the whole point. And also adding $1.5 trillion to the budget, that's also a non-starter. That's just not going to happen. They're asking just so wildly too much. I don't know if they're trying to take a page out of Trump's playbook with regard to like the art of the deal, maybe like drop the bomb and then soften the blow, expecting Republicans to come back and say, no, $1.5 trillion is insane. We'll give you $300 billion or something. But no, dude, like that's not what this is all about at all. You're asking for a bunch of woke insanity. And you're asking to just give free health care to everybody. It's fucking retarded.
I'm saying just play the same thing until we get it straight. And they don't know how to go about it. I mean, and the problem is we really don't know who the hell is leading the Democrats. You have this AOC, I don't know her at all. But
she's low IQ, though.
Day, she said,
"Oh my
well,
God!
They could come to my office." That's not leadership, you know. The only one that challenged her actually was Nancy Pelosi, and Nancy's not looking too good. I don't know what that.
No, she's lost. She's losing her fucking marbles,
but,
man.
She's not looking great. But she was the only one. I give her credit. She was the only one that challenged her. But AOC said that they can come to her office and negotiate. The Republicans. And
why?
Say, oh, I didn't know she was in leadership, but she's taking Hakeem Jeffries' place, and Schumer's afraid.
Yeah, but dude, they're acting like they've got the upper hand, dude. They don't. Everybody knows that they've shut down the government. It's crystal clear that they voted against the funding. It's that simple. So that's why they're trying to pivot to Republicans. They're causing your health care to double, and your premiums are going to skyrocket. That's what they're rolling with these days. And, of course, a lot of the Democrats are still saying that Republicans shut it down. We didn't do it. They did it. You know, it's fucking ridiculous.
She's going to run against him. And right now, I don't know. He can change. Life is crazy, right? But now he can't beat. I don't think he can beat anybody. So he'll lose in a primary. I would say he'll retire before he loses
he will.
in a primary.
Scumbag.
So I think Schumer's going to retire because he can't beat anybody. His polls are so bad.
Yeah, dude, all their polls are bad. They're all abysmal. And AOC, look, has she debated anybody before? Because I haven't seen her debate anybody. I don't know if she's capable of debating. And that's a big problem that Democrats have, like especially down on the local level. If they debate Republicans, they're going to get fucking destroyed. Anyway, I mean, yeah, I know, I get it. They do debate on the local level, you know, in different areas of government across the country. I'm just saying, like, they don't have just logic on their side. They don't have facts on their side. They've just got hopes, dreams, feelings, and just psychopathy. Anyway, so Caroline Leavitt, president on the Democrats bragging about hurting Americans.
But Chuck
this is another quick one.
This morning that every day gets better for them. No, every day it's actually getting worse for them. And they're having a rebellion in the Democrat Party because they want to stop. And if you saw all of Schumer's, I watched last night like 10 different times over the years, he said, you can't shut down government, you can't shut down, and now he's the one that shut it down. So this is a confession that he's acting not to serve the people, but to serve the partisan interests of his party.
Yeah, man, they're putting political party over American livelihood, and it's absolutely insane, dude. It's very dystopic and pretty nightmarish, frankly, especially if they're gonna, you know, get back in power one day. It's definitely a nightmare to behold. So this was also from Caroline Leavitt. While federal workers stress over missed paychecks, military families turn to food pantries, and airports around the country face delays, Chuck Schumer and the Democrats are bragging that every day gets better for them. What a disgusting and revealing statement. Democrats are gleeful about inflicting pain on the American people. Dude, they're gleeful about any form of violence at all. Whether if it's physical violence, financial violence, whatever kind of violence that you can possibly imagine. So let's see. But as we enter the second week of the standoff, Democrats are nowhere close to buckling. In fact, top Democrats feel like they're gaining political momentum. Like I said, dude, they're not going to, this is just going to go on for months. This is going to shatter the current record of the government being shut down for 35 days, which of course the Democrats did during Trump's first term. And I really honestly think this is going to go like 6 months, maybe even longer than that. They just want to inflict as much pain as they can while campaigning and saying that this was all the Republicans' fault the entire time. This is all the Republicans' fault. They did it. We didn't do it. They did it. And they're just also just assuming that their constituency is just going to vote blue no matter who. And I don't know, man, they might be sorely mistaken. Apparently, there were people that were unregistering as Democrats by the droves after what happened to Charlie Kirk. And that's just one instance. I mean, that's also not to mention, you know, when Trump was shot in the head while he was campaigning in 2024. And shortly after that happened, he won. I don't know if I'd say he won by a landslide, but he won every single swing state. And he also won the popular majority, first time Republicans have in 20 years. So I don't know, man. It just keeps getting crazier and crazier. All right. So I'm going to go back, and looks like we're done with the cabinet meeting. And I'm just going to move on to Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene. She was on CNN, and she's complaining about healthcare. So it looks like maybe she might be siding with Democrats a little bit. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. So if Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying it out loud, this, by the way, it's from Rep. Veronica Escobar, a Democrat. and in the House of Representatives. She's not a senator. She's a rep. So MTG is saying it out loud. Maybe Republicans will finally hear what Democrats have been saying for months. Costs for groceries and utilities are up because of tariffs and billionaire tax cuts. That's just so. How do you connect those two? So billionaires are not paying their fair share of taxes, so your groceries are expensive. No. That didn't happen during COVID. Groceries didn't go up 30% during COVID. It didn't go up 30% under Biden. No. It's because billionaires. Because like the billionaires, man. The fucking billionaires. And then also the tariffs, which also, there might be a few crops here and there that might be affected by tariffs. Might be a little bit here and there, but nothing as to what they're making it out to be. It's all about the inflation during COVID, the cost of everything going up during COVID. We all know this. I mean, we all know it. It's just, we lived through it, for crying out loud. Anyway, we must fix this now, starting with reopening the government and saving ACA tax credits. So Aaron Rupar, Marjorie Taylor Greene on CNN, I'm getting phone calls from people that are saying if the ACA tax credits expire, they aren't going to be able to have health insurance. They're going to have to drop it. Yeah, well, there's a pretty good chance that they might. But that's not the Republicans' fault. That's Obamacare's fault. That's the Democrats' fault. And of course, there were Republicans that voted for that too, but it's gotten progressively worse. Year after year, the premiums just will forever keep going up and up. And I'm no expert. I think the only way that they can really fix the healthcare nightmare that we're dealing with is try to figure out how to get this hyperinflated costs of healthcare goods and services under control. And I don't know how you do it. I would really not like to see price fixing, because that's never going to fix anything. I don't know. All I know is that it costs a hospital like just a couple $100 to put somebody through a CT machine to get a CT scan. Yet they're charging $8,000 to get it done, even though it costs like $200. Same with the IV. It costs like $20 to produce an IV in a factory, in a sterile environment. It costs $20, including the nurse administering the IV with you or into the patient. The whole thing. At the most, it costs $20, but yet the hospital will bill your insurance like $700 for it. Or if you don't have insurance, I don't know how this makes any sense, but they'll bill you like $300 for the IV or something like that. Or like if you go to the emergency room, you don't have insurance. They're like, okay, well, we're not going to charge you $8,000 for the CT scan. We'll charge you like $1,500. Like, well, then why the fuck are you charging the healthcare and like, what the fuck, man? It just doesn't make any sense to me. But anyway, let's hear what MTG has to say.
I'm one of those that gets real tired of political drama when it's not actually solving a problem.
Here, let me start that over.
I'm one of those that gets real tired of political drama when it's not actually solving a problem. And this is such a crisis that I'm willing to say, okay, everyone, we have to do something about this. It shouldn't be something that we dangle the American people or military pay or all of these things. We shouldn't be dangling them back and forth. We have to fix it.
What are you hearing from your constituents right now? And do you have any regrets about voting for that short-term continuing resolution, that spending bill?
Thank you for that question. Number one, I am a Republican, and I support the president. I was very vocal about I didn't want to vote for a CR. I want to pass our appropriations. That's our constitutional duty, and I want to bring that taxpayer dollars back to my district. I work hard on that, so that was important to me. But I support the president, and I voted for the CR. Number two, what am I hearing from my constituents? It's great. We track all the calls that come into my office. About 60% of the calls coming in right now are calls of support and saying, yes, health insurance is a crisis. They're telling us stories about how they're already paying $2,000 a month with $10,000 deductibles. I'm getting phone calls from people that are saying if the ACA tax credits expire, they aren't going to be able to have health insurance. They're going to have to drop it. But I'm hearing from people on both sides, people already on the ACA and people that are already getting crushed by high health insurance premiums.
Well, okay, so she's admitting that there is a healthcare crisis, which nobody is going to dispute that. Republicans will also admit that there is a healthcare cost crisis happening, and it's been going on, especially since Obamacare started. Before Obamacare, health insurance was reasonable. It was a lot more reasonable. And like I didn't take that as her siding completely with Democrats with regard to the ACA, although she didn't offer any solutions either. And the solution is not just to have the government write blank checks to the health insurance companies and to medical facilities around the country. That's not the way that's going to get fixed. If they keep just having the government paying for it and not really digging too much into it. Look, I understand there's like the HEDIS program. There's different ways that the government tries to keep the industry in check so they're not overbilling or double billing. And, there's processes to follow with that. However, it's just completely unreasonable, the amount of money that just basic shit costs. And just having the government just throwing a blank check at it is not going to fix it. Just having the government just pay more money at it, because they got to get the money from somewhere. It's going to come from taxpayers for the most part. And it's just going to be just this endless cycle where it just keeps getting more expensive. They dump more tax money into it. They got to take more taxes from you to pay them. And it just goes around and around endlessly. So I don't even know, man. I don't even know how the fuck they're going to fix that. So this is from Attorney General Pamela Bondi. Federal law enforcement officers continue to do heroic work unpaid during this Democrat shutdown to make America safe again. In Washington, D.C., 4,067 arrests have been made and 381 illegal guns have been seized. In Memphis, 562 arrests so far with 144 illegal guns seized. Damn, dude, that rate of illegal guns is way higher in Memphis than in D.C. It's like, what is that, like 4 to 1 or something? Good grief. The Justice Department is also working to dismantle Antifa, a domestic terrorist organization, and has surged resources to protect ICE facilities in Chicago and Portland. And this is from Janine Pirro, who was the D.C. attorney, or district attorney, right? I wanted to say attorney general, but no, not attorney general. She's the district attorney, right? Yeah, U.S. attorney for the District of Columbia. All right. Anyway, I had to cheat, but that's all right. Pursuant to President Trump's initiative to make D.C. safe again, there have been 4,067 arrests, 381 illegal guns seized, plus a drug den with 7 illegal guns and 300-plus rounds of ammo across from a kindergarten shut down. So, yeah, 300 rounds, I mean, that ain't a lot, but, yeah, I get what she's saying, though.
Hi, everyone. It's Judge Janine. I'm here in the nation's capital, and as the federal-local cooperation continues, pursuant to the president's initiative to keep D.C. safe and beautiful, there are now a total of 4,067 arrests since the surge started, 381 guns taken off the street. But last night was a particularly busy night here in the nation's capital, with 69 arrests and 13 weapons taken off the street. I want to be a little more specific on that.
That is busy for a weekday.
The violent crime and narcotics section of my office took down a drug den, and you'll love this. It was directly across from a charter school that housed kindergartners.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
And in this drug den, in addition to fentanyl, cocaine base, there were 4 Draco-style guns, along with 2 Glocks, an AR pistol, and you'll find this amazing. In addition to the drugs and the guns and the scales, there was 1 set of body armor. Think that one through.
Well, good grief. Oh, wow. All right. Yeah, man, that's a lot. That's happening. What I would really like to know, of the 4,000 people that they've been able to arrest and throw in jail, how many have been cut loose? How many individuals have they arrested that's been released since? Of course, not all of them are going to be held without bail. Plus, I'm sure there's probably a lot of leftist judges that they end up getting in front of. So, I mean, is it really working? That's one of the statistics I would like to find out. Of the 4,000 that they've arrested, how many have they actually released back into society again? All right, and this is from Attorney General Pamela Bondi, a real short one. 1 tier of justice for all Americans. So I don't know if there was any decent comments from it. Pam Bondi. All right. Let's see. Okay, well, they said that, not me. So let's see. We've been waiting on this one. Indicted. Yep. There is no client list. There is no client list anymore. Look, yeah, of course. So they're going to be dropping the release the Epstein files. They're not going to be done with that. They're going to keep screaming that. And look, I don't entirely blame them. I think they should release everything they have. I mean, the last I heard, they didn't release everything they had. So release everything you got. Just let it all out. Let it all out. Well, plus, with regard to that, the Epstein victims came out, stood before a podium at the beginning of September. I think it was like September 7th. And they said, we've got our own list because we were actually there. We were victimized by these people. So we're going to release our own list since Congress or, the Trump administration refuses to do so. So we're going to do it. And I'm still waiting. I don't know why they didn't just release the names right then and there. I don't get why they didn't. If they're actual victims of Jeffrey Epstein and his clients. So, all right, moving on. Secretary Sean Duffy, Governor Kathy Hochul has blood on her hands Nicola Tanzi's life was taken by another repeat offender roaming New York streets freely. New York needs leaders who will back the blue and make America's transit system safe again. This is from the New York Times 6 hours ago. Breaking news, a 25-year-old man was arrested and charged in the fatal beating of a 64-year-old man in a Brooklyn subway station, according to the police. And I'll link that if you want to look into that further. And yeah, so Secretary Sean Duffy, he's the Secretary of Transportation, in case you didn't know. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, Portland, not all outside of our ICE facility are violent. Thank you. And some lady saying, I really appreciate you guys. Look, yeah, and during those, I don't know if I'd really call them riots, even though they basically are riots. I mean, they're causing mayhem out in front of the ICE facility. They're not smashing and looting things necessarily, but there's a lot of violence happening out there on a nightly basis. But in the face of all that, there's been a small group of Trump supporters that have been showing up in Portland, standing in front of ICE, holding up signs similar to this. And one of them, like last weekend, they had a "We are Charlie Kirk" shirt on. Another one had the Freedom shirt from Turning Point USA. He was wearing that. They were chanting USA and good times. So from Homeland Security, watch Secretary Noam address President Trump's cabinet on the work DHS is doing to remove criminal illegal aliens and improve public safety in Chicago, Portland, and across America. So I separated this because I'm trying to organize this in a way that I just kind of move more smoothly from one topic to the other without jumping around all over the place. So I figured it'd be more appropriate to place it here while we're talking about, the violent criminals, the illegal immigrants, Portland, Chicago, Memphis, and all that shit going on. So this is from Secretary of Homeland Security.
Well, sir, thank you
Secretary,
for your leadership and for deploying all of government to help us keep our country safe. You have talked extensively about how threatened our ICE officers are, but all of our law enforcement out there. And we saw the shooting in Dallas at that facility, so we're hardening all of our buildings and making sure that we have more security measures, snipers on the roof, people to protect our law enforcement while they're out there on the streets. But what I'm also doing, sir, is, and with your authority, is we're purchasing more buildings in Chicago to operate out of. We're going to not back off. In fact, we're doubling down, and we're going to be in more parts of Chicago in response to the people there. And then I was there a few days ago and looked at some facilities that we can deploy more law enforcement out of. Because what they're trying to do with these riots and violence is distract us and keep us from going after those murderers and rapists that are out in the streets. And then I was in Portland, went out and back on Tuesday, and met with the governor, met with the mayor, met with the chief of police and the superintendent of the highway patrol. They are all lying and disingenuous and dishonest people. Because as soon as you leave the room, then they make the exact opposite response. So we're looking at new facilities to purchase. They're in Portland too, and we're going to double down. And I told them if they didn't meet our demands for safety and security on the streets and work with us, then we were going to bring in more federal law enforcement. So I want to thank Pete and the Department of War for all their help. They've been fantastic. But
but do they have the power to arrest people? Or do they just do crowd control? That's the major problem, is that it just doesn't seem like these federal agents don't have the powers that I always thought that they had. That if you're committing a crime in front of a federal officer, fuck yeah, they can arrest you. You're breaking the law. Apparently they can't do that. It doesn't seem like they're able to do that. Now, if they assault agents, or if they throw objects at them, or if they obstruct them, which they're not even arresting them on obstruction for the most part. If they stand in front of an ICE vehicle that's trying to exit the facility or trying to get down the street, if they're blocking it by standing in the street, they can be arrested and charged and convicted up to 8 years for doing so, but they're not arresting them for some reason. So I don't know. That's what I keep seeing. And I've taken the time to watch some of the live streams. The last one that I watched, I think it was last Friday or Saturday, and I haven't watched them during the week. It looks like a lot of the mayhem has been happening during the day this week. But if you're interested, you can go over on YouTube. Since you're already here, just wait till after the video though. But you can go over there or just search on YouTube and you can look up Portland Live. And there's even a setting here. Here, I'll show you. Just in case you didn't know, I'm sure you know. YouTube's pretty easy and it's been around for freaking 20 years at this point, man. YouTube's been around for 20 years. It came out in 2005. So anyway, so Portland Live, at least that's how I look for it. You just go to Portland Live, and then you got your filters here on the right. Then you can select live under the features list, and it'll only show you live videos. So 24 hours outside ICE, 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. I don't know if that's on a loop. That might be on a loop. That one probably wouldn't be the best one to go with. Yeah, so that one, there's only 2 people watching. This one has clearly been pre-filmed, so that is kind of problematic with some of these quote-unquote live videos. They're not exactly live, so you got to kind of just weed through them until you find one. The reason I know that's not live is because it's not nighttime there yet. It's 5:45 in Portland right now, so... But anyway, yeah, there's somebody in here, they're streaming. I don't know if that'd be nice if you could sort it by the number of people who are watching live, because I'm sure the ones, see like 761 watching. This one might be live, potentially. And it looks like that is in Chicago, though. But yeah, this one's possibly live. I mean, it actually, no, it's not. No, it's not. It's 8:46 p.m. That's not live. It's dark in Chicago by now, if this is in Chicago, which it looks like it is. So, but anyway, yeah, maybe nobody's live right now. I would assume that people will be going live probably in the next couple of hours or so. But anyway, that's just one way you can look to see if you can find something on there. Anyway, here,
While we fight litigation and work with Pam on that, we're going to send more of our resources and men and women out there to keep everybody safe. So no worries. What we see in D.C. and what we see in Memphis for benefits for people in the safety and security, we'll see that in Chicago and Portland.
And the numbers in Memphis, it's only a week, but the numbers have been amazing, I understand.
That's exactly right.
The crime numbers are way down.
Yeah, it's like almost 600 already.
It shows what a partnership can be between local law enforcement and the federal government. And if we have to do it the hard way in Portland and Chicago, we will. But,
and the ratio of guns to arrests is way higher than
right
DC.
Now, as we speak, for you, arguing in Chicago and Portland to keep them safe, to bring in the Guard. The government doesn't want it there, but we do. We're going to keep their citizens safe, thanks to you.
The people want it. I don't understand the politics of it. I don't understand why Pritzker is trying to protect people that are
They're more
really
scared. They're more scared of the anarchists that are on the street and the politics of it than they are of doing the right thing.
I think they're afraid.
Yeah,
I think they're threatened. They don't tell us, but I think Pritzker's threatened by people because there's no other reason that this could be possible, that they don't want to have a safe Chicago. And we can solve the problem very quickly. And we're doing that anyway.
And how many criminal governors has Illinois had in like the last few decades? Isn't it like 3 or 4?
I asked the mayor that himself. He said that Portland was perfectly safe, a beautiful city, no problems. And I said, well, why did you clear the streets for me today then and build out a 4-block radius to make sure I could get in and out of here?
Yeah, why indeed?
And these people on the street screaming death to ICE. There's graffiti that says Molotov, melt ICE. We have the guillotines. We're going to use them.
Portland's almost different. It's like anarchists.
It is. It really is.
It's really different than a lot of the others. This is a sick situation, but those are anarchists. Those are people that want to overthrow government. They're
they
really
do.
Degenerates.
That's absolutely what they want.
And we're finding out who is supplying all of those beautiful signs and everything else.
Well, Scott's been fantastic.
And frankly, the Democrats are completely siding with them on that. They want the chaos.
That's what gives everybody.
They think they can seize power in the middle of it.
We got a great team.
I'm telling you what, man, and you better hang on to that Second Amendment for dear life. That's the hill to die on, especially as the Democrats get more psychopathic. I'm not suggesting you do anything with the Second Amendment other than keeping and bearing arms, as many as you possibly can. Look, man, guns, they hold their value pretty well. I don't know if that would be just like an ironclad investment, but I wouldn't say that it's not, because yeah, especially if you got a collection of guns, even if you have a collection of firearms and if you have a few that you've never fired before, they're still going to maintain their value as new. And as things inflate, as things get more expensive over time, yeah, I mean, I think it'd be a pretty solid investment. The same with ammunition. I know on the state level, it may depend on your ability to resell that stuff, because there might be some cap on the amount of ammunition you could sell, and you might have to have like an FFL license or be a dealer or things like that. Like, I know that can get a little murky. But yeah, man, like ammo's not getting any cheaper. Anyway, Homeland Security, J.B. Pritzker is aiding and abetting violent criminals. President Trump is using his lawful authority to direct the National Guard to protect federal assets and personnel in Chicago following violent riots where officers have been assaulted and doxxed by left-wing rioters. Law and order will win the day. And we know that they're being doxxed because it's already come out that there's who was it? The cartels. They're putting $2,000 hits on federal agents. What was it, like 2,000 for kidnapping, 10,000 for shooting them or something like that. And yeah, they want their masks to be removed so they can be identified and doxxed and dealt with, which is, I mean, that speaks a lot on Gavin Newsom's agenda with him signing that stupid executive order in California. And in his words, that forces them to take off their masks, even though like he has no authority to govern over federal agents. He's just doing that just to posture to his extreme far leftist, to the fucking outrage mob.
I think what's really important for viewers to understand, though, is what's happening with J.B. Pritzker and Brandon Johnson. As our law enforcement is being attacked and as the public is put in danger and at risk, those local law enforcement officers are told to stand down. They're told to not help our law enforcement as they're being attacked. That's so important because we do need to have that backup. And that's why President Trump has brought in the resources. He's brought in the National Guard to make sure that the public is safe.
Yeah, they got to take orders from the mayor.
Enforcement is safe. As
Local
we've said
police.
how many times here, our law enforcement is facing 1,000% increase
They'll end up firing him if they help.
It's not just Chief Bovino who has a bounty on his head. We actually just found out from recent reporting that there's more bounties. We have reports $2,000 for a single ICE agent to be killed, $5,000 for a mid-tier officer. It's really disgusting what's happening. I think what's
it is. Oh, yeah. It's absolutely despicable. It's absolutely insane. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Violent protesters continue to obstruct official duties outside our Portland facility. Assault and or obstruct law enforcement, get arrested, and face the consequences. ICE will not be deterred. So every single one of them, obviously they're marching in front of the facility, or they're heading toward the front of the facility. Yeah, that's absolute obstruction. As soon as an ICE vehicle opens up the gate to try to leave, and if they're all blocking it, that is obstruction. Plus, wouldn't surprise me if the mayor gave them approval to do this march, because typically when you do a march or a protest, you're supposed to get the city's approval. You're supposed to get like a permit or whatever. That way they can make sure the roads are closed and all that. So would not surprise me at all if the mayor's like, oh yeah, you can go down there and demonstrate your little asses off. And yeah, they're having to deal with all this bullshit. Anyway, let's check this out. Meet your modern hippies. A far cry from the OGs. Yeah, well, and frankly, a lot of them are, well, clearly they're politically retarded, but a lot of them, they're not legit trying to protect illegal immigrants. They just want to burn down the system. That's all it's all about. That's all they want. They just want the chaos, because a lot of them were raised with a fucking silver spoon up their ass, and they just want just some excitement in their lives. They want the drama. They just want to be a part of just something wild and crazy, and they're bored. And yeah, I mean, that's just kind of the situation we're in right now. That tends to happen, I suppose, when you live in a country that's been too peaceful and for far too long, living in the land of not only milk and honey, but cheap milk and honey. It's absolutely freaking crazy, man. And yeah, I guess, how does that saying go? Like, good times create weak men, and then weak men create hard times create strong men, and strong men create good times. I think I got that right. The cycle goes over and over again. Anyway, Homeland Security, Gavin Newsom has blood on his hands. This serial criminal illegal alien killed 6 innocent people while driving drunk after California authorities ignored an arrest detainer lodged by ICE. Yeah, they ignore every single one of them. ICE will call when they find out, because whatever the system, the registry or whatever the national database is, once they get a hit that this criminal illegal has been arrested, ICE will call that jail and say, put a hold on him. We're going to pick him up right now. We'll be there in like 10 minutes, or maybe not literally within 10 minutes, but like basically we're on our way. And what these officials are doing, these local officials, they're pushing these illegals up to the front of the line to get them to get arraigned before a judge, so they can get them out of there as soon as possible before ICE shows up. They're going out of their way. They're going way out of their way to try to keep them in the country. And it's fucking insane, man. So, all right. So sanctuary policies protect the worst of the worst criminal illegal aliens. And under Secretary Noam, we will do everything in our power to remove this serial drunk driver, abuser, and drug user from our country. And that's one of many, many thousands. Homeland Security, Aurora, Illinois, a violent lunatic just attacked members of our federal law enforcement, launching rocks at their vehicles. He has now been arrested. No one is above the law under Secretary Noam. If you lay a hand on law enforcement officer, you will face consequences. We are not playing. Let's check this out. Oh, here, hold on. Busted the window. And then he tries to run away, but he gets caught. Absolutely fucking retarded. Let me do this one more time. Just like ran up on him and just busted the window right in front of the cops. Fucking idiot. Without realizing that comes with up to 20 years in prison, by the way. And they'll probably actually, I mean, that's 20 years for assault on a federal officer. They'll probably hit him with assault with a deadly weapon. And God knows how long he'll be in prison over that one. From the White House, President Donald J. Trump welcomes the Finnish President Alexander Stubb to the White House. Here we go. He's meeting, shaking hands, waving to the press from Finland. Peace in the Middle East. It's very quiet, but we're not hearing anything. All right, so that happened, and I got another post on this. Not going to watch the whole thing, but I figured I'd watch a couple minutes of this, and I'll repost this if you want to check this out on my X account. It's at SPAETHON, and there should be a link in the description. I'm not sure if the link works or not because it goes to a social media site. I don't know what YouTube does with that, but I got it in the description at least if you want to check it out, or you can just go directly to the White House. It's right there on White House. And that was at 3:12 p.m. today, so about 5 hours ago. And this is the bilateral meeting with President Trump and the President of the Republic of Finland. And oh my God, it's quiet. Uh-oh.
Thank you very much both for being here. And Alex, we've been friends for a
Holy
long
cow,
time.
that's quiet. Here, let me try to boost this.
The Prime Minister also, and we have a big order coming up. We're buying icebreakers. We're building them together for the most part. We're doing 4 over there and 7 over here.
How about that? Is that better?
And we negotiated a pretty tough price, I think. But I assume you're going to do very well. But what you're doing is you're going to be teaching us about the icebreaker business.
White House, man.
Very strong.
Freaking
We only have one
engineer,
icebreaker in all of that millions and millions of acres. We only have one icebreaker. And other countries have more than we do. And we're buying the finest icebreakers in the world. And Finland's known for making them. They sort of have almost a monopoly on icebreakers, if you think about it. Nobody makes them like Finland. I've heard that for a long time.
Well, it makes sense.
So we're going to have a total of 11, and it's been really
You think Canada
an honor
would be building
on
that
it.
shit,
It was
too?
very important. We were.
Yeah, we have
making them,
one. I
but
think
we
it's up in
didn't make them
Alaska.
right
We just
by the time we
they
finished with
just
them, make them
what's it called?
maybe better than
Commissioning
you,
it
but
or
at
whatever
least
they
as
call
well.
that.
But probably
You know,
not
breaking
better, but at least as well.
breaking the
So
champagne
I
bottle on it.
appreciate
They
both
did
of
that
you
earlier
being
this
here.
year.
It's
It was
an
like in
honor to have
May, I
both of
think.
you. Really tremendous reputations, and it's a great country. Thank you very much. Alex, would you
Yeah,
like
no,
to say
thank you, Mr. President. I mean, I remember our first conversation just after you had been elected in November. The first thing you mentioned was icebreakers. We need them, and then we've been working on this issue ever since. And we're happy to announce that we're basically building 11 icebreakers together, 4 of them in Finland, in joint endeavors, and then 7 of them here. And I think the reason that we've landed in Finland is that 60% of the world's icebreakers
Nice, man. They're going to build some
in
here.
Finland. 80% are designed. We've been building them for over 100 years. And speaking of price and time, I think we're the country that can provide them half the price and half the time.
Icebreakers, they're ships that literally break through ice.
Strategic decision by the president as well, because we all know that the Arctic is important strategically, militarily, and in terms of the economy as well. And now we can work on this together. Finland is a strange country in the sense that we are probably the only country in the world where all the ports are frozen in the winter. And that's why we built the know-how in icebreakers. Now we can work on this together. And I remember the first conversation we had, you mentioned the fact that Russia has 40. and you need to start ramping this up, and this is an indication that we're
Damn,
going to do
Russia's
it,
got
and we're going to
40
do
of
it
them?
together. I also think that this strengthens our bilateral relations. I know I come from a small country, but for us to be able to work together with you is extremely important from a strategic perspective as well. So we appreciate the cooperation, and we're going to deliver the first one 2028.
Good. Just a little bit before a big event.
Yeah.
So that'll be good. That's great.
Man, why does it take so
And
long to build
actually,
those things,
it's
man?
true. I came here
Bet
and they
the
were building an
1950s, they probably
icebreaker.
haven't
They
done
had
within
no
a
idea
year.
what they were doing. They had no idea how much it was going to cost. They knew nothing. And we have our Secretary of the Navy right over here. We're working on a lot more than icebreakers. We're working on some very, very big and important ships. But they had no idea what they were doing. And I was with you, and I ended up meeting you and knowing you, and I heard about Finland and their icebreakers, and I said, do me a favor, would you have your people take a look at what these people are doing? And it came out that just as I thought, they had no idea what they were doing. And we got involved, and we ended up, we need these ships very badly because we have a lot of territory, more than anybody. And so I'm very honored to have this deal, and thank you very much. It's going to be great. It's going to be a great partnership. And it's a great honor to have you, Mr. Prime Minister. Would you like to say something, please?
First, Mr. President, thank you very much. It's a great honor to be here today. And as a Prime Minister of Finland, I want to say that this deal it's very important to Finland and our economy, because our economy is suffering a lot because of Russian aggression in Ukraine. And this deal, it means investments, it means jobs, and jobs means hope. And that's why this is so important. And I want to thank your leadership on this deal and this issue. Thank you very much.
So you've been affected very badly by the war going on, the ridiculous war going on, right?
Yes, because we have to close the border with Russia. We have 1,300 kilometers common border with them, and affects the atmosphere in Finland, in investments, and that's why we need good news. Our people need hope.
Right. So your border is closed.
It's closed.
And that's because you have so many Russians trying to get in?
Yes, they started to push illegal migrants to our border. That's why we were forced to close it.
Oh, wow.
And people also that don't want to go into the military, I guess, trying to come through.
Yeah, some of them are
Probably.
escaping. Fortunately, on our side, we don't have that problem. In Finland,
No, you have a great military.
We have compulsory
Yeah,
military
we do.
service, and as I always say, we have 900,000 men and women who've done it, including myself and the Prime Minister. We have 200.
And you've been fighting Russia for a long time. So how many years have you been indirectly fighting Russia?
Well, put it
From
this
that.
way, we have managed our relationship since the 1300s with about 30 skirmishes, but it's been very peaceful at our border after World War II.
1300s.
Yeah, but it's been peaceful at our border since the Winter War and the War of Continuation. But, I mean, a lot of it is because we actually have a very large military. It's the biggest in Europe together with Turkey, Ukraine and Poland.
Wow, no shit. I
We
didn't know
have
that.
over 60 F-18s. We just bought 64 F-35s. We'll roll out the first one in Texas
64, holy shit.
in December. We have the biggest artillery in Europe together with Poland. And as I always say, we don't have it because we're worried about Stockholm.
Holy shit, man. No wonder nobody fucks with Finland. Damn, man. You got a hell of a military going on up there. All right, so like I said, it'll be reposted if you want to check it out, or just go to the White House X profile. So let me readjust my volume here so we don't blow out eardrums with the next video. All right. Think I'm good to go there. All right, rapid response 47. He got a prize for doing nothing. He got elected, and they gave it to Obama for doing absolutely nothing but destroying our country. Obama was not a good president. Of course, talking about the Nobel Peace Prize.
He got a prize for doing nothing.
Exactly.
Obama got a prize. He didn't even know what he got. He got elected, and they gave it to Obama for doing absolutely nothing but destroying our country. No, he was not a good president. The worst president was Sleepy Joe Biden, but Obama was not a good president.
Are you going to do something with the
They
export?
gave him a prize.
Yeah,
How
Biden
many
wasn't a
months
president at
after
all,
he
really.
won the election, then they gave him the Peace Prize, right?
It was right after.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
My election
2009.
was a much more important election.
Yep, absolutely. Didn't do anything. He was the first black president. We got to give him the Nobel Peace Prize. And, like, what else? Like, Obamacare, but that didn't come out in 2009. I mean, what did he do in 2009 that warranted the Nobel Peace Prize? I mean, 2009 was kind of a while ago. I mean, but I was in my 20s back then. I don't really remember anything else that he did. besides, speaking about hope and change that the everyday people didn't get. I mean, he bailed out Wall Street. Maybe that's why they gave him the Nobel Peace Prize, because the people who determined the Peace Prize, maybe they got a lot of stake in that game. Anyway, so this is from ABC News. On this day in 2009, President Barack Obama won the Nobel Peace Prize for what the Norwegian Nobel Committee called his extraordinary efforts to strengthen international diplomacy and cooperation between peoples. Oh, really? So what exactly did he do with extreme diplomacy and solidifying any like loose tensions with other countries? Not a whole lot that I can think of it anyway. Obama surprise. Oh, okay. So it's a video. Yeah, whatever. I'm not going to play this. I'll link it if you want to take a look at it. All right. But yeah, they're just saying in this day in history, which was today, right? Today. Yeah. 12 hours ago, they posted that. All right. Secretary Sean Duffy, air traffic controllers, they still need to come to work, but I understand why they're frustrated. Senator Chuck Schumer is putting illegal immigrants over their paycheck. Yeah, well, anybody who's working for the federal government, anybody who's an air traffic controller, anybody who's working anywhere who's directly affected by this, just keep that in mind when the midterms come up, because they're absolutely, it's absolutely happening under the Democrats, not under the Republicans.
That Chuck Schumer is putting illegal immigrants in their health care over their paychecks, putting illegals over Americans, and they're like, you know what? We're going to call in sick today. I don't like it. They all have to come to work. They all should come to work. But this is a lash out at Democrats for, again, putting non-Americans ahead of American hardworking citizens.
Yeah, dude, if they don't come into work and our airports suffer, I guess, gridlock, if that were to happen, if they all just quit coming to work, all that's going to do is just fuel America's demand to start automating air traffic controllers. They might, over the long term, end up seeing their jobs disappear entirely, because with the advent of AI and how that's taken off, and we got this whole infrastructure the government's trying to build with the help of like Apple and all these other corporations that are building out this crazy AI thing, that I just have a feeling that you could start seeing some of this having the ability to be automated at some point. I don't think that a lot of people would be crazy if that were to happen, like with, Skynet, Terminator and all that, but whatever. Speaker Mike Johnson, Washington, D.C. is a split screen right now. On one side, President Trump and Republicans are delivering for the American people by cutting taxes for hardworking American families, ending the border crisis, ending the crime crisis, eliminating fraud, waste, and abuse in government, and bringing an end to conflicts around the world. But on the other side, Chuck Schumer and the Democrats are playing games with the lives and livelihoods of Americans and bragging that every day of the shutdown gets better for his party. That says it all.
I just want to summarize everything this morning, as I've been doing on some interviews earlier today. This morning, Americans are watching a remarkable split screen. Two things happening simultaneously, and there's a rather stunning contrast between the two. On one screen, you see President Trump and Republicans delivering for the American people. You see President Trump and Republicans cutting taxes for hardworking American families. You see us ending the border crisis, ending the crime crisis. You see us eliminating fraud, waste, and abuse in government, and now resolving violent conflicts around the world. What President Trump achieved yesterday, was announced last night, is a truly historic foreign policy achievement. I mean, it cannot be understated. We should give a whole press conference just about that. The deal that he struck between Israel and Hamas.
Yeah, Democrats are going to definitely try to bury all that, aren't they?
Region, but for every peace-loving.
It's going to be kind of hard to do when your average everyday Democrat has been all pro-Palestine and Gaza from the river to the sea, and they've been chanting all that shit for years at this point, for pretty much the entirety of this conflict that Hamas had started. So that's going to be kind of interesting to see how that's going to play out amongst everyday Democrats with regard to the peace deal, because I mean, if that video that I showed at the beginning with people in Palestine celebrating the end of the war and chanting Trump's name, are Democrats going to give him credit this time for the umpteenth time that he has actually done something good as opposed to something bad? Democrats just can't give him a single win. They
People
just
around
can't.
the world, everyone around the world. He's going to bring the hostages home. 2 years they've been in captivity. They'll finally be delivered home. We're all watching the images of the celebrations in Israel and around the world by people in Gaza and in Israel, that this is coming to an end. He's going to bring the hostages home. He's going to bring peace and security back to Israel. and truly lay the foundation for a lasting peace in the Middle East. This is a goal and an objective that's been stated by presidents and politicians and policymakers and people around the globe for generations. President Trump has the strength and the vision and the resolve to do it. He's the only president who could have, as has been demonstrated. And look at the other side of the screen. So that's all going on.
No way
one side
Obama
of
would
the
have done it,
screen. Now
or
look at
could
the
have.
other. The stark contrast with the Democrats who have shut down the government. Republicans are busy working around the clock to deliver for the American people, voting over and over to open the U.S. government and laying the foundation for lasting peace and working to deliver for American troops and military families. And what do you see on the other screen? Democrats playing games with the lives and livelihoods of the people we represent.
Well, see, that is going to make Democrats also look bad. And of course, they're going to spin it because they count on their voters having low IQ. But they're voting on this every day. They're voting on the CR bill on a daily basis. They're up to what, I think 8, maybe 9. I think it might be the 9th time that they voted on it today. So Republicans have voted yes to open the government 9 times. Democrats have voted no 9 times. Like I said, they're going to spin it in some way to make it sound like that. Oh no, we're the good guys. They're not the good guys. We're the good guys.
Now voted in the Senate. The Senate Democrats have voted 6 times.
6 times.
To
Okay,
keep
whatever.
The
6
government
times.
Shut down.
Still.
And I just want to tell you one of the most outrageous things I've
They
seen.
said shut down the government 6 fucking times.
In the mid '80s, when I was a kid in the Reagan era, Chuck Schumer did an interview last night and bragged. This is what he said. Quote. He had the audacity to say, quote, "Every day of this shutdown gets better for us." His party. I don't even know how to comment on that. It's so stunning to me.
Because they put their party over America itself.
And use American citizens as the pawns.
This is how dangerous the Democratic Party has really gotten.
We're in day 9. The consequences of this Democrat shutdown are very
party
real.
over
he can mock it,
America.
He can pretend like it gets better for him. It doesn't. It doesn't get better for the country. Right now, half our civilian federal employees are on furlough. Real, vital, critical services that
Yep, the vast majority of whom actually vote Democrat, the ones who do vote.
American citizens of
pretty much across the federal government, for that matter,
are halted. And when we talk specifically about our military, right now, service members, military personnel at home and abroad, as well as Border Patrol agents, TSA, air traffic controllers, they're all working without pay.
I still think that would be absolutely wild if like Elon Musk or some like a giga-billionaire were to come out and say, look, I set up a website, set up a program. If you need military pay and you're not getting it, just fill out the form. Let's just call it an IOU. And then your retro pay will automatically come back to this organization. But for now, we'll keep giving you your paychecks. That would be absolutely fucking wild. I'm sure that would be a very complicated process to do. And, you know, like he's already done the country a lot of favors as it is, but I just think that would be absolutely crazy in a good way. All right. House Committee on Veterans Affairs just last night, Chuck Schumer said every day the government stays closed, it gets better for him and his party. You know, it doesn't get better for veterans, active duty service members, and their families. Chairman Rep. Bost at today's press conference. Mike Bost. Is it Bost? Anyway, let's give this a listen.
First off, I want to say thank the Speaker, and let me tell you this. I believe Secretary Collins and the administration is trying to do everything they possibly can with the money that we actually provided for them in advance for our veterans. Thank heaven we did. So the health care side and appointments and everything through our VA from that side is not in jeopardy yet.
Yeah.
But let me tell you the areas that are and the concerns
I think it's good for like the next couple of years, right?
That we pushed over 3 weeks ago now. We actually had extenders for certain programs that are vitally important, like the Fox Grant, which provides mental health, in contracted mental health for many of our veterans who the suicides continue to happen at 17 a day. We also have things that we pushed over as far as the concerns we're dealing with continuing education. Continuing education is starting to fall by the wayside. The concerns that we have with other programs like this, there's about 7 of those programs, but those are going to start falling by the wayside. Now, one of the concerns that we're already hearing is the GI Bill. Right now, we're hearing rumors that many as many of half of the people that have a GI Bill are not receiving GI Bill payments to their universities.
Oh,
and therefore,
what?
when they get on the line to try to call to make sure that their education will continue and it'll be paid for, to try to straighten it out, there's no one there to answer the phones. That is a concern. Day to day, our veterans are trying to make ends meet. Day to day, they're trying to hold on to their benefits. And day to day, they keep hearing these concerns, and they're going to continue to get worse.
Yep, the Democrats are just going to say,
As
oh, that's
a
the
veteran,
Republicans' fault.
And
It's the
as
Republicans'
someone
fault.
who tries to provide for them, the fear that I have for them
'Cause that's all
is
they got.
as this goes on, it will only
Lies
get worse.
and lies.
It's not a game. It affects real people's lives. Another program that's out there that is concerning is those that might be needing home health care. Those are private providers. Now, like I said, Secretary Collins is trying to shift things around, but the authorization language expired on the 1st of October. Folks, this is not a game. It's very, very serious. And let me tell you this as well. As I watch us coming up on the deadline on the 15th, that the first time that our not only our veterans in dealing with this, but our military personnel, our young enlisted that may have spouses and children that are making it payday to payday, are all of a sudden trying to figure out, I'm living payday to payday, but I'm going to get no pay due. Let me tell you, that's personal to me. That's who I was. When I joined the United States Marine Corps, I was 18 years old and turned 19 in boot camp, got married out of boot camp, had a child. And for a short period of time, it was during the Carter administration, and we were living payday to payday. And when you saw no pay due, not everybody's got a parent that they can call. And you don't have a credit rating where you can actually call a banker.
Oh, dude,
And you
most
know
people
what?
are maxed
Rent's
out
still
anyway.
due. Food's still got to be put on the table. And for someone to say, hey, you know what, it's getting better for us every day, it's not getting better for them every day. And they are the people that are standing on the front line to keep this freedom of this nation in place.
Yeah, and Democrats want all this to happen, and when they're saying open the government, they're saying, no, blame Republicans. We already told them that we want the government open. We already told them that, and they're just not opening it. But the reality is the Republicans, they're not going to sign $1.5 trillion for woke leftist programs and also to give healthcare to illegals. It's not going to happen. And look, this also just goes to show how difficult, for everyone who's all about small government, how difficult and how painful it's going to be to downsize the government. Because I'm all about that. I'm all about downsizing the government. But this is just the VA that he's talking about. Just to show the amount of pain that we would have to go through in the short term to get the government downsized to the point where it really needs to be, because they're spending $2 trillion more than they take in. It's obviously way over bloated. And I mean, maybe some of these services should be more in the private sector. I don't know. I don't have any answers for that because, I'm not a veteran or anything. So just kind of making that point that to downsize the government, it's going to be a pretty difficult process.
We are going to continue to do our job. We did our job. We sent it to the Senate. All of these things that I talked about were in that continuing resolution. And we made sure from our part at the VA committee that they were. It is time that the Democrats quit playing games with those people who they claim that they're all for, our veterans and those who serve this nation.
No, they're not. They're for illegal immigrants. That's all they're for. That and criminals. It's basically all they care about these days. They don't care about anybody else. Anybody who votes blue, no matter who, they don't give a fuck about you because you're going to vote for them anyway. Why should they care about you? All right. And also, basically, anybody who's a conservative or anybody who's a Republican, they know they're not going to get their vote anyway because, we're on the side of reality, on the side of truth. I mean, I'm not a Republican, but I am a conservative. But still, I voted straight ticket red for 10 years because I'm not fucking insane. Because that's, obviously the side to be voting for, the side of reason these days. But anyway, from IRS News, an earlier memo circulated on furlough guidance incorrectly stated the nature of the Government Employee Fair Treatment Act of 2019 as it relates to compensation for non-pay and non-duty status. OMB will provide further guidance on this issue. You will be updated accordingly. So it didn't get a lot of attention or anything, but it's an update from the IRS, so I figured I'd make a mention of it. IRS, blink twice if you're being forced to post this against your will. Dog, you don't have to do this. Jobs are temporary, but your self-respect is forever. All right. Who dis? Stealing money is wrong. The IRS deserved this. All right. Anyway. So Ways and Means Committee. This is the Ways and Means GOP. There's also Ways and Means Democrats also, but this one's from the GOP. Chuck Schumer says that every day the government is shut down, it's better for us. Better for who? The 1.3 million service members that are about to miss a paycheck. Seniors that may face delays in receiving their Social Security benefits. Democrats are playing political games with the livelihoods of Americans, and it has to stop. I'm not sure about the Social Security thing. I thought Social Security payments were not going to be affected by the shutdown. So not exactly sure what they mean about that. Now, it does affect some benefits in the way of certain services. Like maybe if you call the Social Security office or something that's like non-monetary or something that's like non-payment related. I'm sure the Social Security Administration is going to be affected in that way. But anyway, they're replying to Caroline Leavitt, who said, while federal workers stress over missed paychecks, military families turn to food pantries, and airports around the country face delays, Chuck Schumer and the Democrats are bragging that every day gets better for them. What a disgusting and revealing statement. Oh, okay, so I already read this. I'm sorry. Yeah, I've gone through a lot of posts before then. I actually noticed that when I was getting to the very bottom. I already read that. All right, Department of War rapid response. Press Secretary Pete Hegseth on the Democrat shutdown. It's frankly disgraceful. Oh, no, hold on. She's the press secretary of the Department of War. Not the secretary. She's the press secretary for the Department of War. And that is Kingsley Wilson. Sorry, I misspoke on that. So anyway, it's frankly disgraceful that Chuck Schumer and the Democrats have decided to play politics with our service members' lives.
Is there real concern at the Department of War about whether or not these military members will be receiving their paycheck either on time or at the very least in the back pay option?
Absolutely. This is a major concern for us at the department, and it's frankly disgraceful that Chuck Schumer and the Democrats have decided to play politics with our service members' lives. Many of these service members rely on a single income to support their very large families. Many of them live paycheck to paycheck. Many of them
the majority of Americans do.
And
Isn't like 70% of Americans?
And figure out what they can do to make ends meet. It is absolutely preposterous that the Democrats won't fund the government. We have warfighters all over the world who are doing tough jobs, and they deserve to be paid for those jobs, whether they're at the southern border, cities across the country, or they're in Japan or Korea. They deserve compensation, and we as the American people deserve to give that to them. So it's disgraceful to see Chuck Schumer and the Democrats put slush funds for PBS and health care for illegal immigrants before pay for our warfighters. It has to stop.
Yeah, absolutely. And the majority of Americans, they don't have enough money to cover a $400 emergency. I've read that somewhere recently that most Americans don't have $400 in their savings that they could cover just some instant situation. Their car breaks down. They got to tow it somewhere. They don't have the money for it. It's absolutely crazy. Plus the credit card debt, it's at its all-time high. It's last I read, it was like $1.5 trillion at this point. The average new car payment, $750 a month. The average used car payment is $550 a month. It's absolutely crazy. So yeah, I would say that it's absolutely fair to say that they're stretched thin as it is, because most Americans are stretched thin. Just because Wall Street is rocking and rolling doesn't mean that the average American is rocking and rolling. So anyway, it is up to 7 times now. Democrats have voted 7 times to keep the government shut down. Americans are hurting, and Schumer says that every day gets better for him. They don't care. They don't care. And Rapid Response 47, again, I blame the Democrats. It's their fault, says the president on his message to Americans affected by the Democrat shutdown. And gives a quote. I'll play it to hear what he has to say.
To some of these families tonight facing missed paychecks, potential layoffs, and missed benefits due to the shutdown.
Yeah, I blame the Democrats. They ought to call their local Democrat representative, whether it's a senator or a congressman, and it's their fault. I mean, they admit it's their fault. They campaigned on the fact that they'd never shut down the country, but they want to shut it down. And, we have the greatest economy. We're the hottest country in the world right now. I think you'd admit that. The hottest country. We went from a dead country a year ago to the hottest country in the world. So I think they probably don't like that. But we're doing great.
No, it makes the Republicans look good.
Great. I would say my message is call your local representative, congressman or senator, and tell them to get on the ball. The Democrats have caused this problem.
Yeah, and that's what's absolutely crazy, that Democrats aren't doing a single thing that truly benefits the everyday American. The only thing that they say is, well, let's just collect more tax money so we can give quote unquote free benefits to people, a lot of whom they're not working, or I don't know, like whatever the problems are that they're having in their lives. That's all that the Democrats ever talk about, is that we just want to give free stuff to people. And that's it. And it's fucking ridiculous. Senator Pete Ricketts, Senate GOP successfully cleared the backlog of President Trump's nominees last night. We're continuing to overcome Senate Democrats' historic obstruction. Despite the Schumer shutdown, Republicans in the Senate are still fighting to deliver on Americans' priorities. It's time for Democrats to stop playing political games and reopen the government so we can get back to work for the American people. Clearing the nominations backlog, civilian nominees on the executive calendar. So, yeah, they're rolling them through the Senate. And, yeah, they had to change some rules in order to make it happen, but they're making it happen. And this is from AOC. Congress already passed a law to ensure that the hundreds of thousands of furloughed federal workers will receive back pay when the shutdown concludes. Yeah, well, that doesn't help their fucking situation right now, though, does it? That doesn't mean that the vehicle that they still owe money on still going to probably get towed. There's same with having to pay a mortgage. If they don't pay their mortgage for 3-4 fucking months, they're going to be looking at foreclosure. So just because they're going to get back pay doesn't fix the fucking problem. Trump and his team of billionaire sellouts cannot change that. Remember what is at stake here: affordable health care. That is it, man. It's affordable health care. They're inflicting all this damage because they claim affordable health care. And if they just extend those ACA tax credits, that's not going to make healthcare any more affordable in the long term. All it's going to do is just take money from taxpayers and giving it to people so they can have cheaper healthcare in the short term. It's not codified into law, this ACA tax credit. It's fucking left over from COVID. Anyway, so More Perfect Union, she's responding to them. A new White House memo says that furloughed federal workers aren't entitled to back pay. This is clearly against the law, which guarantees furloughed federal employees back pay for the duration of a government shutdown. And this is from John Kennedy. Senator Schumer's getting a lot of the blame for this shutdown, and Lord knows he deserves it, but he isn't really in control. Rep. Ocasio-Cortez is calling the shots, according to Senator Kennedy.
Senator Schumer's getting a lot of the blame, and Lord knows he deserves it because he instructed all the Senate Democrats to vote to shut down government. But he's not really calling the shots. The group calling the shots is the socialist wing, the squad wing of the Democratic Party, because they're in control. And the head of the socialist wing of the Democratic Party is Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez. She's really calling these shots. In fact, Senator Schumer is trying to ingratiate himself to the socialist wing of his party and to the Congresswoman. And I have to tell you, I don't hate anybody. I don't mean any disrespect. But based on her policies and beliefs, Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez is single-handedly trying to put an end to dumb blonde jokes. I mean, based on her policies, $1.5 trillion, she must be bilingual. She's speaking English and stupid. There's no way we're going to go along with this. And that's why we're going to shut down.
You know, kind of cheap shots with that. But, yeah, I mean, they want to railroad our economy into complete oblivion. She wanted to roll out that Green New Deal when she was still the rookie congresswoman, $100 trillion. They don't have any basic concept of money. They have no idea how money truly works. They don't understand that you have to labor for money before you can have money. They don't get it. And yeah, like I'm sure that they probably want to roll out price fixing because that worked out really well in Venezuela and other communist countries. When you people can't afford bread because bread costs like $10 for a bag of bread. So we're going to price fix it. So now bread is only going to cost $3. You're breaking the law. You're going to be arrested if you produce bread and charge more than $3. Well, what ends up happening is nobody produces the bread anymore because they're going to make it at a loss. Well, it costs $8 to make a bag of bread, so I'm not going to sell it for $3. I'm just going to quit making it because what the fuck's the point? I'm not going to lose money on every bag of bread. And now what? Nobody has bread. But that's the future we're looking forward to if the Democrats have absolute power. All right, House Committee on Education and Workforce. Let me just double check. Education and Workforce. And what they have to say is workplace discrimination, including anti-Semitic harassment, cannot be investigated because the Democrats shut down the government. I'm sure they're really happy about that. Our workforce deserves better. Jewish News Syndicate. Due to the government shutdown, all current investigations by the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission has been paused. And they have an article on that, which I'll link. You want to check that out. Yeah, because, Democrats, they pretend that they're all against discrimination, but, they're the ones that continue trying to roll it out all the fucking time, making race an everything issue and giving benefits to some people, but not to white people, or not to those people, or not to Asian people, so on and so forth. All right, where am I at? Oh, I think I jumped down a little bit. Here we go. Secretary Doug Burgum. Department of the Interior has canceled reckless offshore wind leases. They've eliminated subsidies and preferential treatment for unreliable energy, and the Department of Energy is creating a level playing field for affordable American-made power that keeps lights on and prices low. This shutdown needs to end so we can continue. And Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, this is going to be a bit of a long one. So the U.S. Treasury has concluded, actually, let me just open it up in the next window. All right, U.S. Treasury has concluded 4 days of intensive meetings with Minister Luis Caputo, A.R. Toto Caputo, he's the minister in Argentina, Minister of Economics, and his team in D.C. We discussed Argentina's strong economic fundamentals, including structural changes already underway that will generate significant dollar-denominated exports and foreign exchange reserves. Argentina faces a moment of acute illiquidity. The international community, including IMF News, is unified behind Argentina and its prudent fiscal strategy, but only the United States can act swiftly, and act we will. To that end, today we directly purchased Argentine pesos. Additionally, we have finalized a $20 billion currency swap framework with Argentina's central bank. The U.S. Treasury is prepared immediately to take whatever exceptional measures are warranted to provide stability to markets. I emphasized to Minister Caputo that President Trump, his America First economic leadership is committed to strengthening our allies who welcome fair trade and American investment. I continue to hear from American business leaders who, thanks to President Milei's leadership, are eager to tie the American and Argentine economies more closely together. The Trump administration is resolute in our support for allies of the United States, and to that, we also discussed Argentina's investment incentives and U.S. tools to powerfully support investment in our strategic partners. Minister Caputo informed me of his close coordination with the IMF on Argentina's commitments under its program. Argentina's policies, when anchored on fiscal discipline, are sound. Its exchange rate band remains fit for purpose. We reviewed the broad political consensus in Argentina for the second half of President Milei's term. I was encouraged by their focus on achieving fiscally sound economic freedom for the people of Argentina via lower taxes, higher investment, private sector job creation, and partnering with allies. As Argentina lifts the dead weight of the state and stops spending into inflation, great things are possible. The success of Argentina's reform agenda is of systemic importance, and a strong, stable Argentina, which helps anchor a prosperous Western Hemisphere, is in the strategic interest of the United States. Their success should be a bipartisan priority. I look forward to the meeting between President Trump and President Milei on October 14th and to seeing Minister Caputo again on the margins of the IMF annual meetings. Oh, there you go. That was a breathful. So, yeah, I know when President Milei, when he first got into office, Argentina's annual inflation rate was at like 300%. It was wildly spinning out of control, and he got it under control very quickly. So this is from Secretary Chris Wright. On Monday, I had a chance to visit Commonwealth Fusion Systems, an American entrepreneurial company working on fusion energy. It's coming soon. I also visited my alma mater to see firsthand the innovative work being done here every day to drive American energy forward.
A happy and nostalgic day for me up here in Boston, Massachusetts
area.
Fantastic visit at Commonwealth Fusion Systems. Awesome American entrepreneurial company and partner with the Department of Energy. Fusion energy It's coming soon. Spent the afternoon at my alma mater, fantastic dialogues, visited my old laboratory and graduate school.
It's a little more organized.
And the Nano Lab as well. Great stuff being driven by great people. Onward and upward.
Fusion energy. Fusion energy. Any
Happy,
kind of energy that
nostalgic-
works, man. I'm all about it. It's wind and solar, man. That shit ain't working. Too damn expensive. Homeland Security promises made, promises kept. Under the leadership of the president and Secretary Noam, the foreign-born population in the United States has decreased by 2.2 million this year. The size of the foreign-born population fluctuates, but grew dramatically after January of 2021. Since January of this year, it has declined by 2.2 million. There's the graph for you. Stretching back to, looks like January of 2021. And the decline in the foreign-born January to August of 2025. So they zoomed in from the line in black over here. So, yeah, it is on the decline. And moving to TSA news. Yesterday, TSA screened about 2.4 million individuals, which is up 14.9% year over year. The average wait time in standard was 6.28 minutes, while the average TSA pre-check wait time was 2.65 minutes. Have travel-related questions, text travel to Ask TSA for more info. So it sounds like the lines are still moving pretty smoothly in the face of the shutdown. This is from Rapid Response 47. Congratulations, real Ben Carson. Dr. Ben Carson will be an incredible national nutrition advisor for the United States Department of Agriculture. I will soon be awarding Dr. Carson the Presidential Medal of Freedom. He is a true American patriot who cares deeply for the people of our country and never stops working to protect and strengthen life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for all. Congratulations, Ben. That's from President Trump's True Social. And this is from Homeland Security. So they're responding to, I thought was pretty hilarious. If you've ever seen The Big Lebowski, I think most people have at this point. It's a fantastic movie. It's a great movie. I think it was the Coen brothers from like 1998. But they took this 3-second clip, like, where's the money, dude? Where's the money?
What in God's holy name are you blathering about?
Yeah, so anyway, they're responding to what Breitbart News reported on. Jeff Bridges went on to Jimmy Kimmel's show to promote Disney's new Tron slop, then, at Kimmel's request, got into his Big Lebowski character, the Dude, to deliver cringy lines like, let's get ice off our streets and into our beverages. Oh, man, come on, Jeff Bridges. Used to be so cool, man.
Yeah, ice. Let's get ice off our streets and into our beverages.
You're breaking my heart, Jeff. You're breaking my heart, dude.
Will not stand, huh? Right? Right. So let's
fucking
just
Walter.
Abide together. Yes, we can do this.
What do you mean by we can do this? Are you talking about inflicting violence against the federal government?
That's a pretty great opinion, I think. Thank you, dude.
You know, with all this bullshit that they've been doing, it's kind of surprising to me that they're not leaning heavily into the Second Amendment. Like, we've got to take up arms. We have to take up guns. We got to collect guns and get guns. Just makes me wonder if they're going to get there at some point. I don't think they will. I think that they've already scared their base to death with regard to guns. If they even see a gun, they fucking pass out. But anyway, that was disappointing. I don't know about the whole Tron thing. Look, Disney, they've been woke for far too long, and I know they've been trying to turn it around since, especially last year and the year before. It was flop after flop after flop after flop. Not only just through like the main Disney studios, but also with Marvel and with Star Wars, just been flopping like crazy. So I know I've got higher hopes than I really should with regard to this Tron movie. I saw the trailer. The trailer looks cool, but trailers, they're supposed to look cool. I mean, that's what trailers are. They're supposed to pull you into the movie theater. But I don't know, man. Like, I enjoyed the original Tron movie. I really enjoyed Tron Legacy. That was the first movie I saw in 3D, and it was amazing. My daughter really likes the Tron movies. So I'm thinking about going to see it this weekend, but I'm just going to wait and see how the reviews pan out on IMDb and just kind of see if it's actually worth going to or not. Because, you know, I really don't want to give Disney any money. I really don't. I mean, I haven't been to Disney World since, I think, like 2016, and I only live about an hour and a half away from Disney World. But yeah, I mean, they've gone woke. I don't want to give them my money. You know, fuck Disney. Anyway, John Solomon, Gabbard directs U.S. intelligence leaders to consider how to end the press leaks. And this is a report from Just the News. It's been a while since Tulsi Gabbard's been in the spotlight, which I would like to think is because she's busy as hell going after these freaking psychopaths that are working on behalf of the Democrats in our intelligence community. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard has reportedly directed U.S. intelligence agencies to consider whether it is feasible to conduct random polygraph tests of employees and contractors, and said the tests need to question whether the interviewees have leaked information to the press. That's a fantastic idea, man. It's an absolutely great idea. The order, which was issued in the past month, comes after multiple federal agencies and departments decided to use polygraph tests to identify leaks to the news media. I mean, look, this isn't going to cut back on the government's budget. If anything, it's only going to, add more money to the deficit. However, maybe it could be a short-term solution to try to weed out some of the corruption. The directive also comes after former FBI Director James Comey was indicted by a federal grand jury last month over allegations from the Justice Department that he made false statements to Congress when he denied leaking information to the media. Two sources told CBS News on Tuesday that Gabbard's memo emphasized polygraph test questions related to leaks of information to the press and said that tests would become more frequent and routine. An official in Gabbard's office said the order does not create any new policies, but emphasizes existing regulations and legal statutes. Quote, since the start of President Trump's second term, we have seen numerous unauthorized disclosures of classified information which have the potential to damage U.S. strategic alliances and credibility and endanger sources and methods vital to intelligence gathering, DNI spokesperson Olivia Coleman told CBS News. The fact that deep state actors leaked information about DNI Gabbard's directive aimed at preventing leaks and protecting classified information to the media is both deeply ironic and a powerful reminder of why her efforts to identify and deter leakers is urgently necessary, she added. And not only should they be fired when they get caught, especially when they start getting all of them hooked up to the polygraph machine, they should be criminally prosecuted and convicted. So this is from the Office of Congressman Abe Hamada. Sorry, dude, I'm awful with names. I'm like atrocious at names. And there's a lot of members of Congress. There's like, 435 members of Congress. There's no way I'm going to be able to memorize all of them. But anyway, so Congressman Amada wants the American people to understand how deep this corruption was. The Biden administration was targeting regular Americans. If you dared question our elections, our mask mandates, or COVID vaccines, they would go after you. And that's what's terrifying. The federal government was creating narratives and then pushing those who didn't follow them. Yeah, it's absolutely freaking insane,
we have the constitutional right to question any election
we all remember
want.
it.
You literally
the
can
cancel
say,
culture.
I don't believe the outcome and I want it to be checked. And you shouldn't be taken off of Twitter or be on some no-fly list or be in trouble on some right-wing, nut job list. Are we at a place now to where we can actually say, hey, I'm not sure about that election. I'm not sure that I believe the outcome and not be punished for it?
I think right now the Overton window has shifted quite dramatically, Joe. I mean, I'm with my colleagues here in Congress, and I'll tell you, I mean, just a few years ago, even amongst Republicans, they would not dare to question elections because of the media and what the Democrats did. But now, I mean, I've talked to many members who think mail-in ballots are ripe with fraud. And I think just a few years ago, that would not have been the case. But the targeting by the deep state and specifically the Quiet Skies program, if you look at the report that came out, they weren't just targeting people in politics. You know, the reason why I came forward ultimately, Joe, is because I want the American people to understand how deep the corruption was going. They were targeting regular Americans. If you dared question the mask mandates, if you thought masks
they were banning you off social media.
After you. They targeted a federal air marshal's wife for being around Washington, D.C. on January 6th. They targeted people who opposed the COVID vaccine.
Well, yeah, dude, they threw Enrique Tarrio in prison, and dude wasn't even fucking in Washington, D.C. I don't even know if he was even in the country when January 6th happened, but they threw him in prison for it. He wasn't even fucking there. It's absolutely crazy. And plus, like, we all remember hashtag learn to code, or at least some of us do, like back in the Twitter days. They were banning you on there permanently if you just simply, like, tweeted out hashtag learn to code. Just letting journalists know that, hey, man, you might be losing your job because the mainstream media is in full collapse. So maybe you should learn to code. Then that way you might be able to maintain your living. And people were getting banned for that. Insane.
That's ultimately what's terrifying. It was, and remember at the time during COVID, I mean, I remember this very well. Dr.
Yeah, man, don't even get me started on fucking COVID, man.
Fraud. He was telling us that masks don't work, and then they said they do work. I mean, the
Double
inconsistency
mask,
of the
triple
messages
mask.
was shocking from the federal government. For them to create a narrative and then punish those who don't follow their narrative, that's the ultimate problem.
Yeah, and then people freaking driving around by themselves with the windows up, double masked, because they were afraid they were going to fucking catch COVID. Then they were scared to death of people who weren't vaccinated, even though they were vaccinated. It's like, dude, like, why do you care about somebody who doesn't want to get a vaccine when you're already vaccinated if the vaccine works? If it works, it will do its job. Somebody who doesn't have the vaccine, and if they catch COVID, they're not going to give you COVID because you've already been vaccinated. It's fucking clown world. Anyway, Rep. Chip Roy press office. New Rep. Roy introduces legislation that would prevent foreign nationals who adhere to Sharia law from entering or staying in the U.S. Quote, America's immigration system must be fortified to counter the importation of Sharia adherents. The preservation of our constitutional republic and its people depend on it. Yeah, because when you come into the United States, you're supposed to assimilate to our values, our culture. And if you want Sharia law, then why are you leaving? We don't have Sharia law in this country. So stay wherever it is that you live or where you're coming from, whatever, because that ain't going to happen here, at least not on most of our watches. I know that's what they want. It definitely looks a lot more possible in Europe these days, though. I mean, I definitely will say that, especially the birth rate. Like Muslims, they're giving birth to like 8.3 kids per couple in Europe. And like, you know, the long-standing generational Europeans, they're only having like, what, 1.3, 1.5 kids per couple? So, yeah, they're definitely being outpaced, needless to say. But, all right, so if you want to read up on that, that'll be in the description. You want to check that out, see what his bill and all that. Exclusive Roy bill would allow ICE to deport adherents of Sharia law. I think a lot of people would probably be on board with that. And finally, I've got from James O'Keefe. Breaking, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, with President Trump's approval, fires Foreign Service officer caught concealing a secret relationship with a CCP affiliate. The State Department confirms this marks the first time in history such a dismissal has occurred, a direct enforcement of Executive Order 14211 under the President's Article 2 authority. U.S. State Department Foreign Service Officer Daniel Choi admitted on OMG hidden camera to hiding his relationship with the daughter of a senior Chinese Communist Party official. What? Let's take a look at this.
Huge breaking news within the State Department. Secretary Marco Rubio, with the approval of the President of the United States, Donald Trump, has just fired the Foreign Service officer Daniel Choi, who we at OMG caught on hidden camera, revealing his romantic relationship with a CCP affiliate, possible Chinese spy.
I defied my government for love.
Now, according to a new statement from the State Department, quote, today, after presidential review,
he said I defied my government for love.
The Secretary of State has terminated a foreign
Sounds like
service
Eric Swallow as well,
officer, also known as FSO, who concealed a romantic relationship with a Chinese national with ties to the Chinese Communist Party. Executive Order 14211 states that all officers or employees charged with implementing the foreign policy of the United States must, under Article 2, do so under the direction and authority of the President. Failure to faithfully implement the President's policy is grounds for professional discipline, including separation.
Well, and this dude really thinks that this lady was with him for love because I was falling in love with you. Dude, her agenda is crystal fucking clear, man. I mean, they hold their allegiance to the CCP above anything.
Accordingly, the Secretary recommended that the FSO be separated for failing to faithfully implement the President's foreign policy, closed quote. Now, a State Department spokesperson told OMG that marks the first time in American history such an action has been taken. And they want the American people to know that decisive measures are now being enforced. Choi admitted to knowingly violating diplomatic security protocols by concealing a romantic relationship with Joy Zhao, the daughter of a senior Chinese Communist Party leader, apparently.
Her dad was either a provincial or a federal minister of education. Yeah. So he's like straight up Communist Party.
Now, Choi confessed that he never filed the required disclosure, even acknowledging that Zhao, quote, could have been a spy.
I don't know. She could have been a spy even. I don't really know.
Now, thanks to our undercover
Good
journalist
grief.
and the Trump State Department, well, he's finally facing that accountability thing that all you guys out there clamor for. Stay tuned for more coming very soon.
Wow, man.
O'Keefe
I bet you didn't
Media
hear about that in the
Citizen
mainstream media.
Journalism Foundation are going to be breaking our biggest stories of the year in the nation's capital, exposing corruption, at the highest level. And if they do not arrest the people that we're about to bust, well, then we're probably going to have to launch investigations into the people responsible for making the arrests.
Hell yeah, man. James O'Keefe, he's still doing it. He's still out there busting people, trying to get people to be whistleblowers. James O'Keefe, quote, "I defy my government for love." U.S. State Department Foreign Service officer dated senior CCP leader's daughter admits she could have been a spy and refused to report her. Quote, "Her dad was either a provincial or a federal minister of education, so he's like straight up Communist Party. I was supposed to, whatever, sort of report what I knew about her, but I always thought that was kind of unfair." Yeah, that one's a bit longer, so I can go ahead and repost that at least if you want to check that out. But it's over on James O'Keefe's X account if you want to check that out. And that is going to do it for me. I think that is all I got. That is it for today. Hold on. Let me just double check. That's it. Yep, that's it. I made it to the bottom. Got to the end of the list. So just one last thing to finish off on. Government shutdown. That's the ticker that's up in the right-hand corner. 8 days, 21 hours, 50 minutes, 57 seconds as of this recording. And currently it is 9:51 p.m. my time. So as soon as I wrap up this video, I upload it immediately. It's usually up there within like 20 minutes after I finish the video. So I'm hoping to get to the point where I start live streaming this. I'm not quite there yet. I'm still a bit rusty at it, but that's my goal, at least in the coming months. That's what I'm really hoping to work toward. But anyway, in the meantime, if you enjoyed the video, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It'd mean a lot to me if you subscribed, and I'll drop a new episode every evening, Monday through Friday, covering the swamp and everyone living in it, the politicians, the bureaucrats, agencies, and everything else. And I also post daily episodes on X, so you can feel free to comment over there too if you'd like. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your night, and God bless America.